All right, baby. I'm ready for the first call. Just throw them in. Throw them in as you see fit. Bring on the vegan schizos. That's right. Demon's gonna demon. Vegan's gonna vegan. I was so excited. You know, I want to elevate the art form of streaming. I was so excited to bring something special. And then my sign broke. Hello,
Oh, hello?
Mr. Girl Hotline. How can I help you?
Oh, fuck. It's that easy? Oh, this
It's
is
that
crazy.
easy. 1, 2, 3.
Wow, that's crazy. I'm like literally watching you right now. Hi.
Hello.
Um, I've never done anything like this before. Okay, I will admit. So I wanted to talk to you about a couple things. I want to talk to you about a lot. But,
Well, this already is one of the things, so I
yeah, this
suggest
is
that you get to the fucking point here.
okay. First of all, don't talk down to me. Second, allow me to be a little weird at first. I'm getting comfortable. You do this all the time. I never do this. Um,
Look,
I've
here's the
I
problem. Here's
see.
the problem. A lot of people call in and they
Jesus.
want to spend a lot of time talking about how they're calling into a call-in show. And I know that is new experience for you, but I know
Yeah,
that you're
you're being a
calling
little
into a call-in show.
unempathetic, and I
And
wanted to
that
talk about empathy.
okay. Well, what would you like to talk about?
I watched the stream last night,
Okay.
and I felt sad watching it. Um, One of the reasons I felt sad watching it is because I felt like I'm like you. I've been through a lot of therapy, and I think the way that you feel with Steven Crowder is the way that I feel with you.
You hate me because I'm inside you. There's a me inside you.
In
Is that
so
what
many
you're saying?
words. Yes.
Okay.
Yes. I don't hate you. I feel dread. And I feel like it's something it's weird because it feels like I'm looking at a reality.
Yeah.
Because the way that I've been in your Discord for like a second, and I
Okay.
got to watch everyone just obliterate you after your sex doll thing.
Yeah. I remember that.
And
It's still
I watched
happening.
Oh, and I think, that it is what it is.
Okay.
But I watched that and I was like, I'm Max. Why is Shaylin doing this? I was like, what is wrong with everyone? Why aren't they seeing this? And then I was like, oh, I'm the problem. And you would die on the hill that she's still the problem, or maybe at least that's what I'm taking from it.
Want to know the problem? I just think I have. Here's the problem with what you're saying. Here's my problem with what you're saying.
Okay.
I made a video, right? And part of the video is a conversation with Shaylin, and in the conversation, I have a problem. And I think I articulated it pretty clearly. I've been talking about basically nothing except nothing else for like weeks, and I talked about it nonstop. And I did a stream. I was like, I'm trying to explain my problem and get people to think about it. But then people say, well, I have a different. Shaylin has a problem, and I have a problem watching Shaylin have a problem. So now that becomes the problem. And then my problem, it's like nobody's talking about it, and I'm like slamming my face against like a windshield trying to get people to talk about my problem, but people only ever want to talk about what they perceive Shaylin's problem to be or what their problem is. Well, there could be more than one problem, and it's like, whoa, what about my problem?
Yeah. Do you think that there's a reason why so many people are very uncharitable to you
In this situation or in general?
in general?
I think there's a lot of reasons. Yeah, I think there's a lot of
What's
reasons.
what do you think are like what do you think is like the biggest reason?
Um, I I don't know if there is one biggest reason. I think there feels like there's a lot, but definitely one of them is I think that there is a rule on YouTube that you should always be speaking prescriptively. And so when I say something like, this is how my relationship is, people think I'm saying, this is how my relationship should be. And then when I say, given that this is how it is, here's what I want. And then people say, well, why do you want your girlfriend to lay still while you have sex with her? Well, I don't want to want that. Like, it's like being gay. Like, gay people don't choose to be gay. Or, I mean, maybe they sort of do, but it's not like you don't choose what you want. And so when I say, like, well, here's what I want, people are like, well, you must be choosing to want that. And so they're like, well, go, and then they don't have an answer for that. It always ends with go to therapy or break up. And it's like, well, okay, what if we break up and then I still want that? And what if I go to therapy and I still want that? And what if I date somebody else and I still want that? Like, is your solution is for me to just never have what I want, and for me to live my life.
Never want anything. Yeah,
for
I
me
think
to live
that's
my
valid.
life. Yeah, like you people.
That's another thing. That's another thing. You do that a lot.
Denying the fact of what you want, and it's like you don't. And it's the same thing with the pedophilia thing. I'm like, I think another big thing is a lack. Is what?
Can I give you some feedback?
I want to say one more thing.
Okay.
It's all related.
Okay.
And then you can talk for 2 hours.
Okay.
The pedophilia thing is I'm saying some people are pedophiles. They don't choose to be pedophiles. I didn't choose to think the girls and cuties were hot. I just did. But I'm supposed to say that, like, I'm supposed to apologize. I'm supposed to apologize while I say that, and then it's okay.
Yeah.
And so I think that's another thing that people hate about me is that I don't hate myself. They're like, somebody should be hating you. Not that I don't hate myself. I do hate myself in many ways, but I don't make it. And I know you do. But I don't self-flagellate when I talk about these things and make a big show out of how I hate myself.
But you do it in a very showy way.
Oh, well, okay.
You do it in a skeevy little way.
Oh, nice. Well,
but
you go ahead.
Anyway, the feedback I was going to give you is that you just used me as a way to talk to everyone watching and not talking to me.
When I said you people.
Yes, but the whole framing of that conversation was very like you weren't talking to me. And I get, listen, I'm also online. I have a semi-big following, and I understand how desperate it makes you to have so many people constantly attack you. But I think that you do need to level with your. I think right now we should have a conversation that's just us, and not you placing me as everyone who watches you.
Well, let's see if you can differentiate yourself from the.
Jesus.
The
Yeah,
mob.
I'll prove myself.
Okay, so what would you like to talk about?
So let me start off by saying that I am coming to you sheepishly because I embarrassed myself by emailing you once when I was very under the influence.
Okay.
And I don't wish to speak about it ever again, but I just want to tell you that I did do that, and I still would like to talk about a bunch of other. I would like to have like.
I know you want to talk about how you want to talk about something. Here's the problem: is that we're not just talking one-on-one. There actually is an audience, and they're expecting us to fucking talk about something.
Just set a boundary. Tell me to shut up. Don't go on and on and on. This is what you get mad at people for, and you're doing the same fucking shit. Just tell me to shut up, and then I'll move on.
Oh man.
Just tell me to move, and I will.
Move.
Anyway.
Shut up and move on.
So, okay, thank you. I will. So, I want to do a bigger interview with you. I want to talk about a bunch of things. I feel like this is not the format that would be the best for us. At least from because I want to bring my. I have like
to get to the point. I need you to say something substantive. I need you to shut up.
Okay, so
skip
yesterday.
Okay.
Yesterday,
you
talked to Destiny.
Yes.
You talked to Destiny.
Yes.
Also, don't talk down to me. It's so hard to talk to you when you're talking down to me. Maybe I'm fragile because I'm a woman. But I do not like this. Bad energy. You got mad at Destiny for not taking a stance, for not taking a deliberate stance for you.
On me.
For you.
On me. About me.
On you, for you.
I just mad that, and Maddie's not doing it. I don't care why he does it.
That's not true. You're self-abandoning. That is not true. You do care.
Well, I disagree with you.
Well, I think you're wrong, and I think that you're lying.
Well, I would rather he did it not for me. But if he's
Well,
going to do it
that's
for
because
me,
you-
I
That's
accept
because
that.
you have the expectation of loyalty.
What is this?
It's also
Are all of his calls like this? Apparently, this call goes on for an hour.
clarity. I want Steven to have a clear stance about me publicly. You know what? Here's the thing.
And you want it to be good.
You've triggered a monologue. A lot of my life,
I don't
I've
want to
had-
do a monologue.
I know. It's a short
I wanna
monologue.
ask
It's a short monologue. A lot of my life, I've had a lot of people. I've had a lot of people. I've had a lot of people. Wait, you said you have a big following?
Yeah.
Okay. I've had a lot of people secretly like me
Okay.
and not want to say, in this, just in my personal life too, people, it's like the way somebody would feel on Twitter being like, oh, I'm a big fan of MrGirl. I'm a big, like, let's say, like, who's secretly a big fan of mine that you would think? Like a really big, like Tim Pool, probably a huge secret fan of mine. The way he would feel admitting that, and then the backlash, that's how people also feel in my personal life when they introduce me to their friends or they tell other people, like in a community, tell people that they like me. And so it's very triggering, including in my own fucking family. So it's very triggering for me to have somebody seem at all hesitant to throw in their lot with me.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think you're dancing around what
I
really
hypocrite.
is
Yeah,
happening.
I hypocrite is a secret fan. Lauren Southern, she's openly a fan. Okay, what do you think I'm dancing around?
I think that I think this, not to be a therapist, not to Dr. KU right now. But I think that you often feel like nobody is in your court to protect you, so you have to protect yourself. And I think that your response to destiny not protecting you is very deep-seated.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
that's why I was also getting so mad at Kyla, is her name, right? Because she's a therapist. She's supposed to see this in you.
She's an addiction
And she was
counselor.
being
She's not
so-
technically a therapist. Okay.
Whatever she is. She calls herself a mental health expert. And I was seeing you struggle to the point where it was making me so deeply sad. And Destiny didn't care because he's Destiny. I've talked to Steven a little bit. And I know how
The
he
chat
is.
is speculating that you're creep show art, but you're not creep show art.
No, I'm much worse. I'm much stronger. No, I'm not creepshow art. But
That'd be amazing.
yeah. But it was very crazy to watch. And I just want you to I want, first of all, you to know that people are out there, even if it's just me, one woman, that that empathize with you and see you. Not to be that guy, not to white knight you. But it was uncomfortable to watch. And so I want, if people watching or hate watching this, I want them to know that you have at least someone in your court.
Jesus
Oh, you said it was uncomfortable to watch because I feel like Steven did take a stance. And it meant a lot
After
to
you
me,
forced
actually.
him to, but you don't want to
Yeah.
force it.
Well,
And
I
yeah,
don't
of
know.
course.
I don't think I forced him to. I think I asked
You
him
did.
to.
You did.
No, I don't.
No,
I can't
but you
force him to.
did force him. Well,
No.
okay, sure, but you led the horse to water 50 times until it drank.
I mean, yeah. Maybe.
Yeah.
I don't even know if that's true.
She also said something else. She said that you have to take Destiny for who he is to make your relationship sustainable.
Yeah, that's not true. I think that you can ask people to change in relationships. You can still be in a relationship with somebody and want them to be
Sure,
different.
but don't you think there comes a point where you are just changing them? Like you are just molding
Yeah,
someone
but
into something?
Yeah, but I think that's good in all
But
relationships.
no, I think that I think
You think I think.
well, I think that you do this in most of your relationships. I see you do it with Shaylin. I do it with my fiance. Where I mold someone into a person who can take care of me. And it especially happens when I'm so exhausted of taking care of them. And I see you as this person also.
Okay. I think mold somebody puts you in a kind of a weird god role.
Well, you train them. It's what you do. It's you
Yes,
keep
but you can call
triggering
it
them.
training, but you have again, you're taking a relationship view that puts you in a very safe and protected and controlled position vis-a-vis the other person. Whereas you could also say,
You should attack the little rats first. How do I attack? It feels like I can only attack whatever's in front of me. Oh, you can
that you ask people for what you need, and sometimes they eventually say yes and give it to you. I don't think defining it as molding or training, that seems kind of weird.
Well, I think it's in the way that you do it. I do think, and I think this of myself also, that we overcorrect.
I think you're.
I think in the way, yeah, I'm a control freak. I get it.
Yes, more so than me.
Sure, but there comes a point, yeah, because I'm a woman.
No, I don't say that I mold or train people. I think that's.
But you do. We watched it happen. You let the whole world watch it.
I don't think so. I think I let the whole world watch me vulnerably say what I needed.
You were being very vulnerable.
Yeah.
But
I don't
also,
think I don't think that's training or molding.
okay, well, we watched you uncomfortably keep triggering Shaylin because you knew that there was somewhere in there where she needed it, right? Like you think that she needed what you were giving her.
Yes, but that's also, but I was also doing that because I need that. I don't want a shaky like sex agreement. I need a sturdy sex agreement. The whole point, and the whole point of the agreement is to give me like a safe space. So like again, like I'm not like it. Yeah, it's probably good for Shaylin to have me press her to take a stance and set boundaries, but I'm not training her. That's not my function of why I'm doing that. Like I'm doing it to get what I need.
Exactly. That's you're exactly.
Yes, but calling it training is a framing where my like primary goal is not about me. It's about to teach her a lesson, which isn't true.
Well, it's to teach her a lesson so that you don't have to. You think what you're doing
No,
is
I'm just
not
holding boundaries
taking
again.
care
Like
of
I know,
who
I'm
you
just
are.
saying I don't.
You're like, oh, I don't want to take care of you anymore, but then you're like trying to teach her how to take care of yourself, and you're still making it your problem. This is the way that I think that you're skeevy with the things that you do. Like you, not on purpose, but I think that you somehow think that you're not doing exactly what you want to not be doing.
What do you think I don't want to be doing?
Is taking care of Shaylin.
It's not true that I don't want to ever take care of Shaylin.
Sure. And I think that that's true. I think that we take care of our partners, right?
Well, what would you have done in the doll conversation? Let's say you're me.
I think I would have. The problem is that I probably would have done the same thing.
Yeah, I'm saying in your ideal, you're saying there's a different way to handle it that would have been
I think
more taking care of myself. What would that be?
Do you see a therapist?
I'm not going to answer that.
Okay.
It's private.
It's private to
Boundary
say
time. What?
It's private to say that you do or not. That makes me think that you don't, and you're scared to say so because you think that you're too good for therapy. You think you're too smart for it. But but in therapy, I'll say I see a therapist twice a week. And what I would do after therapy after the knowledge I've acquired, is that if I was in that conversation, I think I would.
Why don't you answer the fucking question? Answer the
I
question. Don't ask me
dude,
if I go to therapy, then say how many times.
I
We
give
don't have
you- I
time for
give
this.
you
This is
30
a
minutes
bombastic show. I'm over
answer.
the sign now. I'm gonna hang up on you.
I
if
give you
do
30
not.
seconds after every answer to
Yeah,
think so that
because
you can
I'm
answer.
Mr. Girl. Answer the fucking question. What would you have said or done?
I think I would have said I cannot handle this right now. Explicitly, I need you to figure this out on your own. I can't handle you crying from the other room. It's triggering me. I I don't know how much I
Wait, so
can
you
make
would you would
even with
so
my
okay, so
response.
Let me get this straight. Shaylin, and you could tell me if we're filming this or not as part of your hypothetical. Shaylin goes into Shaylin says, I can't talk about this. I need a break, and goes into her office and starts crying. How would you would you follow her into her office and tell her to stop crying, or you would just text her?
No, I would ignore it the best that I could. I would
Okay.
try to laugh about it so I didn't break something.
Okay, so I did that.
And then when she came back and was ready to talk like an adult, I would have said, "You cannot do things like this anymore."
You
Wow.
can't
When I
cry in your
said
own
about,
office?
well, I mean, the implication was that she was crying so you could go take care of her. I've done this. Everyone does this with a partner when you can't get your needs met. You show
Yeah,
it.
that's part of why we cry, is to send out a message that we need help, and it's also instinctual that even if we don't think we're going to get help, or if there's nothing that can help, I think we still do it. So yes, on
But
some level, I do think she was trying to get me to drop my boundary and go take care of her.
exactly.
But
So I would have said, I cannot deal with this.
I think
I would have
that's
set a bit. I would have doubled down on the boundary.
and okay. So what's the new boundary? You're not allowed to cry in your office.
Yeah, that's the boundary. No,
No,
retard,
no
that is not.
masturbating, no phone, and no crying,
Yes, exactly.
and no pooping.
Yeah. No farting.
I just don't
No,
see. I don't see how a you can't cry in your office boundary is enforceable.
well, that's. Well, this comes to another thing where I think. I guess I'm going to ask you a question. Do you think that do you think that no matter, actually, let me find a better way to, I won't even ask you a question because that feels manipulative. I think that you are in the place in your own self journey where you are like an open sore. You are making overcorrections because you are trying to protect yourself, but you're also like, why am I
Can you be
protecting myself?
specific? You people
Dude.
always do this. It's always so vague. Can you be specific? Like, yes, a metaphor. I'm like an open sore. You need to blah 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 before you can blah blah blah. And I think the most healthy thing blah blah. What?
You
Tell me what
seem,
that looks
no,
like.
you
Because
seem extremely,
let me give you
you asked me to do something I'm
let me
doing it.
illustrate what I'm
You let
talking
me?
about. Because just now you said I would have set a boundary, and I'm like, oh well, setting a boundary sounds good. What do you mean? And you're like, I would follow my crying girlfriend in her office and tell her she's not allowed to cry. And it's like, oh well, now
I
you
didn't
sound
say
like
that.
now you sound like
I
an
said
abusive
I would wait
psychopath.
until she
I was
was
like, oh yeah,
comfortable.
I would wait till my girlfriend came out of her office and tell her you're not allowed to do this. You can't cry in your own
I wouldn't say
office.
that.
What would you say?
Oh,
Well,
this
I
weapon
think
is
it's
like
also
broken.
different. If
No, what
someone
would
can
you say?
cry
What would you say?
themselves.
See, it's all your ideas are nice,
Okay.
but when you zoom
Okay,
in
let me-
on them, they're actually
Or-
kind of like terrifying. What would you say
Oh,
to
no,
Shaylin after
this.
she came crying out of her office? What would you actually say, word for word?
Okay.
To me, it felt like you were crying loud enough for me to hear. That feels manipulative. I can't do this right now. I
Well, I
can't
can't do
react.
what?
I
What, is
can't
it?
have a
What does that mean?
I can't have a conversation with you. I'm because of how triggered this left me, thinking
Okay.
that you are trying to get me to take care of you again. I can't have a conversation with you that
Okay.
feels like it's healthy.
Okay, so then
So
what would
I
you
need
do?
to take
Okay,
a break.
Okay, okay, so I'm Shaylin. I come out. You say you're gonna take a break, and I say okay. Sniff, sniff. Now what?
And then you come back, and then you
Okay.
say, do you think that there was truth in what I said? Do you think that you were trying to get my attention? And they can either lie to you or admit yes.
Okay, so I'm Shaylin, and I say, yeah, on some level, probably.
Okay, thank you for acknowledging that. I would really appreciate if you could keep that in check, because that's something that really triggers me as someone who's really trying to hold boundaries because they're important to me.
No, you can't control what I do in my office.
Then I think I need to choose myself. And that might mean that I need to take space from you emotionally or physically.
No dick.
It doesn't mean
if you cry in your office, you don't get dick. Is that what it is? You're going nuclear.
Yeah, no.
Okay,
no,
so you would say
I think that you over index boundaries because you are genuinely actually very bad at them also.
You know what? I have some feedback for you.
Uh-oh.
Okay.
I think that you do train people. I think you're telling me that I should use emotional and physical withdrawal to try to train my girlfriend to behave the way I want her to behave, which I think is manipulative and actually literally abusive. I also think that what you're describing is a boundary. I think no, it's not. It's not a boundary. It's actually, I won't have sex with you if you cry in your office. It's not a healthy boundary. That's actually a psycho. That's actually a psycho manipulator boundary. So a boundary.
What destiny has done to you, and it made you so upset. Do not do it to me.
I am going to do it to you.
And you're using me as a punching bag. Don't do that to me.
No, you're telling me to do things in my relationship that I think are literally
First
abusive.
of all, I'm not telling you to do anything. You asked what I would do.
You're telling me that you would do something abusive. I think it's abusive.
A boundary is not abusive.
That's not a boundary.
What is a boundary to you?
Okay, I'm glad you asked. A boundary is when you are setting a limit to your own behavior based on somebody else's behavior. So a boundary would be something, and I understand. I get, like, yes, you can have abusive boundaries. So technically, I won't have sex with you for 1 week if you cry in your office. Is a boundary?
Did I tell you to do that? Did I tell you to say that?
I need you to listen to what I'm saying for a second. This is an example. You could say, I'm going to shut the water to your bathroom off for a week and put a padlock on the controls so you can't turn it back on if you say a word that has the letter Z in it. That's a boundary, but it's also a psycho-controlling boundary. So when I say boundary, I'm more using it as a shorthand for like what I think is a reasonable, healthy boundary that actually improves the relationship and improves the mental health and safety of probably both parties.
Yeah.
At least the person setting it. So let me fucking explain. In this situation, I don't think I think Shaylin's office is a sacred place, and so I can't set boundaries often that reach into her office. Well, I have on 2 occasions. One occasion was when our offices faced each other and she had a window from her office into the hallway. I told her that I wanted her to close the blinds so that she could not see me and we would not make eye contact every single time I go in and out of my office because it felt invasive to me to sort of extend her space into the hallway. The second time was I said...
Wait, real quick. I don't understand how this wheel works. I thought once I'd finished turning it that one time, I would gain... I don't understand how this item works.
I think you should keep pathways into your office on the floor clear, because a lot of times you invite me into your office and there's shit all over the floor and I step on it and trip on it and it's fucking annoying. So I think you should have general safety requirements for your office, which is me exerting. And we had huge fights about both of these when it was like, I said, like, do you think it's reasonable for me to exert these boundaries into your office? What amount of ownership do I have over your office? When it comes to something like crying, I believe I have 0 jurisdiction over her office. I think that she can cry. I think she can even scream within reason. I think that she can yell. She can get upset. That is her space.
It's not a boundary against her.
That is her.
It's not a boundary against her crying.
That is her. That is her. That is
what
she can cry for. Whatever she can cry. No. When Shaylin cries in her. Her office, she doesn't get audited for why she's crying or what happened to precede her crying or what's happening after her crying by me. I'm not like in the emotional IRS going in saying, I've determined that you're crying for this reason, and if you disagree with me, you're lying. And because of my read on why you're crying, I'm not going to touch you or emotionally connect with you anymore. No, that's insane. That is.
Sorry, wait, hold on.
Hello.
Hi, wait, okay. I just have like one piece of advice and I'm going back to listen to this, okay?
Okay, I'm gonna kill myself.
Well, wait like 2 weeks after talking to me because I don't want to show up in any fucking media reports about making somebody suicidal. Okay, listen. Okay, if you are coming on to a thing, so I understand you're probably nervous because you don't. This is obviously his format, and you're not talking normally to other people.
Well, also, I didn't know I was going in.
Oh, sure, you got pulled in. Yeah, I understand. If you when you're having a conversation where you're trying to challenge somebody on some behavior they have or something you want them to change, you have to be, especially somebody like Mr. Girl, but really anybody, you have to be really, really, really chill. Because if you come off, first of all, it's almost impossible unless you're literally like fucking Mr. Rogers. It's really
No, you're right. You're right.
Yeah, it's really hard to get somebody in a state of mind where they're receptive to criticism. One, especially from a stranger. Two, especially on a show where they're
From
expected,
a woman.
Yeah, but that's actually rightfully so. Okay, and then three, especially when somebody's calling into your show and it's supposed to, I think it's technically him helping other people, right? So I'm saying that you've established a situation where you're already in a very aggressive like demeanor without even saying a single word before the time. So I'm just saying that if you're gonna give a criticism, you have to bring the temperature way down. You got to be super chill, like, okay, Max, or like just chill. But when it gets to like
that's what I thought, that I was doing that at a lot of the points in the conversation. Like I know that I came in hot. That's just kind of the name of the game.
Yeah.
But then I realized that, midway through the conversation, I was like, oh, he's really not responding well to me. So then I was like, then he brings up the whole, like, you're an abuser thing. And I'm like, fuck, maybe. And then I'm actually trying to engage in good faith. But then it just like, I overcorrected. My tail was in between my legs and he saw it. And it was just the most unsuccessful conversation I think I've ever had in my life.
Yeah, having like a constructive conversation in this format is going to be really challenging, right?
Yeah, I didn't even want it to be constructive. I called to ask what the feeling was.
You did want it to be constructive because you're giving advice, which is like
he asked me. He asked. I talk about this with him.
Mm-hmm.
I don't even know how we got there. That was not what I went into the call wanting.
Yeah, I can understand that, and that might be the case that initially, like, you're not here to like give advice or anything, but that's where it ended up at.
He made me. He forced me.
No, he didn't force you. There was no Jedi mind tricks here. He invited you to that part of the conversation, and you eagerly accepted.
I shouldn't have.
Sure, maybe not. But I mean, if you do, obviously there has to be like a chill. Got to be super duper chill.
Yeah.
Okay. Also, don't ever malign me in a conversation when I'm not there. Okay, you stupid fuck. Don't ever do that. But okay, I'm gonna go back and I'm at 32 minutes. If you want to chat about this after, we can, but I'm just watching the train wreck, so.
Oh my god, yeah. Just, hit me up after.
Okay, have fun. Bye, buddy.
Literally emotional abuse.
Okay, you are putting words in my mouth. First of all, I think that you're a very smart guy. I think that you can at least sort of understand how you're feeling, your reactions to people. So if you think that you're going to have an unhealthy reaction to something... Yes.
Okay, if your fiance is crying in his space in a way that you don't like, I suggest
you never cry. I would never date a man who cries.
Oh no! Why would you say that? Hold on. Now we're taking notes.
Some headphones.
Okay, you're really focusing on this, and I think you're doing me a disservice.
Yeah, because the whole doll you're saying I'm you, and the whole doll conversation is me actually obsessively wanting to avoid transgressing across Shaylin's boundaries, which is why it's so important for me to know where they are, because if she doesn't establish where they are, then she can always claim that I'm transgressing, and I always feel like I'm transgressing. So I needed her to, people are saying I'm pushing her to say yes. I'm not pushing her to say yes. She said yes immediately. Most of all, I'm pushing her to say no or yes. I would rather the no than the yes, because if she says no, I'm not like, well, I wonder if I'm allowed to not be fucking you like a corpse. But probably I am allowed to not do that. If she says yes, then it needs to be a very sturdy yes. So I'm desperately trying to get her to reinforce and clarify her boundaries, and you're suggesting that I violate them.
No.
Well, I think that You are.
I'm suggesting that you have enough self-awareness in yourself to not trigger your partner, even if they
That doesn't
trigger
fucking
you.
mean anything. You go into
What
this
does-
vague,
what do
this
you
vague
mean?
bullshit. Let's stick with specifics. You advised me to tell my girlfriend when she can and cannot cry in her office.
No, I didn't.
That's psycho behavior.
No, you said what I would do. What I would do. So if
Do you think
if
that
I-
do you think you should do that?
well,
Are you
I
speaking
think
descriptively or
I
prescriptively?
think that you should
Do
be
you think-
honest with what
No,
triggers
be,
you.
be honest.
So
Be
in-
honest doesn't mean anything. I'm saying, do you
So,
think that
okay.
it would be good for my relationship to set a boundary with Shaylin that she can't cry loudly in her office after walking out of her room after I say something that
I
triggers her?
think that if it made you uncomfortable to feel like you had to rescue her again, that you could restate your boundary.
But I didn't rescue her, and I didn't have to. I just kind of laughed and
No,
waited.
exactly. But you were okay with her kind of just not
Again,
respecting
are
your
you
boundary
saying
and stuff.
prescriptively that it would be good? Now, because you're walking this back now. You're saying I wasn't making prescription. I was just saying what I would do. But obviously, when someone says, what would you do? They're saying, what do you think one should do? So, and you worded it very proudly of yourself. You weren't like,
Well, no,
here's
I
the fucking
had a
completely
different-
psycho, here's the
Well,
complete
you were
psycho
there.
controlling manipulator abuser thing that I would do. You said it like you thought it would
You
be a
were
good thing to
there.
do.
Max, you were there. You
I need
know
you
the
to answer this
situation better than I
question.
do.
I
You
need you to
know the
answer this
situation
question.
better than I do. I reacted. You asked me what I would do, and that's what I would do with the knowledge that you framed it. You framed it like she went into another room to
Do you
cry.
think that would be a good
get your
thing to do or
attention,
not? Do you think that would be a
What?
good thing to do or not?
To tell someone
That you're
that
not
you
going
felt
to
like
connect with them
they
emotionally
were
or
manipulating
physically?
you? That's not what I said.
You said
It-
you said you would
you-
tell
no,
you
I
said
said-
you would tell you said you would tell her if you go into your office and cry loudly like that after
No, if you don't
in a bid
care,
to try
no,
to
no, no.
in
I
a
said
bid to
you don't
try to
care
get me
that triggered me.
oh if you don't
if you
care
don't
that
care
that
that it
affected me
triggered me.
oh how would she show that she cared that it affected you?
By not saying no. You said you were acting as Shaylin, and you said no.
Okay, so what would she have to say instead of no?
I understand that.
I don't. Okay, so she can say, I understand that. Well, the question wasn't, do you understand it? The question was, are you willing to not go into your office and cry like that? That's what I said no to.
Well, yeah, then it just seems like
Oh, we're fucked, boys.
how
Well,
much
you're kind of playing
how
fast
much
and
of an-
loose with
how
a
much of
couple
an
of degrees of
unhealthy-
separation here. I just
how
need you.
much of
I need to nail you down on this point really quick. You
Max,
said,
how much
or
of
you
an
said,
unhealthy
you said,
dynamic can
no.
you
I don't
put
go to vague. I see how you manipulate people by going to the vague and then you. Snap.
Okay, hold on, wait. I'm just real quick. I'm sorry. Normally, when it comes to like relationships, boundaries, or I like 100%. I feel like I'm very in tune to these conversations generally because these are things I've thought a lot about. I am a really hard time following this conversation. Am I just not listening well, or is this? I feel like I'm having a really, really, really hard time following this conversation. This conversation's gone over 36 minutes, and I am having issues. What is being talked about right now? Is it how Max should have reinforced a hypothetical boundary with Shaylin, and now he's asking her what type of boundary she would have with a partner that's crying, or? Oh shit! Hold on, sorry. She just said that I would never date a man who cries was a joke. Okay, lucky. Okay.
Back into specific when you want something like a fucking seagull stealing a hot dog out of your hand at the beach. But I want you to answer this question, and I want you to see what I'm saying here. You said, will you agree to not go in your office and cry loudly like that to try to get me to take care of you? I said no. Now you're reframing that as, oh, I just asked you if you would care, and you said no. Well, if caring means I'm going to do what you say, and you're saying if I don't
No.
care, aka agree to stop crying in my office, then you're going to withhold sex and affection. So for the final time, I just
That's
want
not
to
what
ask
you said.
you.
I didn't
I don't
expect
care what you
affection.
said. For the
I
final,
didn't
I'm
ex-
asking you can restate it now. Do you think that if I'm crying in my office loudly to get your attention, and you say that triggers you, and I say I understand that triggers you, but I'm going to keep doing it. It's part of how I cope with my feelings. Do you think that it
Sure.
makes sense? Do you think it makes sense for you to then say, well, then I'm not going to be able to connect with you physically or emotionally?
Well, that's not what I said. I said that I have to separate.
You can just say a
myself.
new thing. Go ahead. Okay. Go ahead and say a new thing. You can replace it if you want.
I'm so
Okay,
good.
I think
then
your
I
new
will-
thing is
I-
going to be just as completely fucking bonkers. So go ahead and rewrite it. What would you say if I said, I understand how you
well,
feel,
let me
but this is my
tell
office?
you the
No, I don't
framework
want to let
of it.
you. I want you to answer this question. We're back in the hypothetical. I've said, I understand how you feel. You don't want me to cry loudly to get your attention, but I'm going to keep doing that because that's how I cope with these things. Your move.
And that makes sense. And that makes sense. And I hear that.
Okay.
Maybe we are subjecting ourselves to things that don't serve us.
Okay. Yeah, maybe.
And that was going to be my next question is how much I know that you can take a lot
In
of
the
dysfunction
hypothetical, you say, okay, maybe we're doing things that don't serve us. And in the hypothetical, I'm still Shaylin. I say, okay, yeah, maybe we are. So what? I'm still going to cry in my
then you
office
go to
loudly.
therapy. And then you figure it out. I don't
Okay,
think
so-
that this
so
has to be so extreme that you
No, I'm not saying it's. I'm not saying it's extreme. I'm just saying.
your
Your new. I'm saying you said you'd set a boundary, but your new stance actually is that as long as I say I understand why what I did upset you, I'm free to continue doing it, and you're not going to change anything.
No, that's
Okay, so
No,
okay,
that's
so
not what I said.
then what would you actually do?
okay. So you gave me a hypothetical where
We're still in the hypothetical.
You
I don't
were
want.
Shaylin and I gave you
I don't want you to.
feedback?
I don't want you to escape. I want you to stay in the hypothetical.
it is
I'm
it is
Shaylin.
really
I-
hard to talk with
I know it's crazy. I'm Shaylin, and we're still in the hypothetical. Okay.
And I'm someone
we're
who's
still in the
been
doll
very
review.
charitable.
We're still in the doll review. I'm Shaylin, and I say, Max, I'm going to go into my office and cry whenever I feel like it. I understand it upsets you. I understand you feel like I'm trying to manipulate you, and maybe I am. But it's my office and it's my voice, and I can cry whenever I want, and there's nothing you can do about it. What would you then do?
Then you could reply. You could reply and be like,
No,
you know
no,
what,
stay
I
in the
understand.
hypothetical. No, I want you to stay. Be me. What would you
Okay,
say?
okay.
You.
I'd say thank you for recognizing that. It validates me
welcome.
that you. It validates me that you recognize that maybe that could be something that you were doing, and I really value being heard. So
Yeah.
thank you.
You're welcome.
And also we
Yeah.
need to either talk to someone about this, or you have to deal with the consequences of me potentially being abusive to you if I feel triggered.
Okay. So I don't want to talk to somebody about this. This is my office. You can hire a couples therapist. You can find somebody who charges $500 an hour, the top world-leading expert. If that person tells me I'm not allowed to cry in my office, I'm going to tell them to go fuck themselves. So there's no one we can talk to that's going to convince me.
Not
There's
crying in
no.
the
Let me
office.
finish. Let me. Hey, Max. I know you like interrupting people, but it's my turn. I'm going to cry in my office whenever I want, for whatever reason I want. There's not a fucking thing you can do about it. Now, what would you say? And also, you don't get to threaten to abuse me if I don't do what you want me to do in my office. That's actually abusive. What would you say then?
I really appreciate that you have a place where you can go where you feel safe.
Me too.
Something else is that I see myself responding to you in a way that triggers you, and I don't just want to keep re-triggering each other until we are just in a place
Oh,
where
okay. So what do you suggest?
our relationship.
That's very thoughtful of you. Yeah, because you don't want to trigger
I
me.
suggest-
And so, what do
I
you think we
suggest
should do?
maybe if you don't want to go to therapy,
Mm-hmm.
maybe we can just do this within our relationship where we just validate each other's feelings and keep noticing our feelings when they come up in a healthy way.
Okay, great.
So being completely transparent, even if it hurts, even if it's embarrassing.
Okay, transparency sounds great, but I'm going to keep crying in my office as loud as I can and as loud as I want. Whenever I
Yeah,
get
that's
upset.
fine. And I'm letting you know that sometimes when I hear you cry in your office, it feels like you are stomping
Yeah.
on the boundary that I set, that I don't want to come save you.
Okay, that's fine if you think that. It's not true, but you can feel that. I validate that feeling too. I'll validate all your feelings. Whatever you feel is what you feel, and whatever you think, I'm sure you're thinking it. But
Thank you.
But you
Max,
you have to
I just
stay
want
the
to say,
fuck out of my office.
if we saw this, okay,
Yeah.
Max, if we saw this in the video,
Yeah.
it would be so different.
Okay, so I just want to point out to you that you never at any point actually set a boundary in that role play, right?
No, the boundary. What do you mean?
You did not set
The
any
boundary was
boundaries.
restating.
In the hypothetical, that's not a boundary.
The boundary.
Uh-oh.
Wait, you cut out. I can't hear you. Is this Shaylin? No, this is not Shaylin. Shaylin would not say the sentence, "I would not date a man who cries." She's not sexist. Well, against men. All right. Well, I feel like, oh, she's gone. All right, baby. If she comes back and wants to say a final thing, then okay, but we got to move on anyway. She went to go cry in her office. Would I ever talk to Blair White? Oh, yeah. Blair White used to have open DMs. I've DM'd Blair White on Instagram, on Twitter. I've emailed Blair White. Hello?
Hi. Sorry, my phone just took a shit.
Okay. Damn, dude, you totally called it. The abusive seagull basically wanted you to break up with your girlfriend. That's a chat message. You're the abusive seagull. What do you think of that?
I don't want you to break up with your girlfriend at all. I think that you guys could really help each other. I think that you guys both need a lot of structure, and I think that you guys are very cute. I've seen, the comics. I mean, I have a very similar relationship to yours.
The comics?
I don't think so. I think that you actually emotionally abuse your partner.
Jesus
and
Christ.
that could be true.
I think it seems like I do, because the general public has this view that if you make a woman cry, or you set boundaries with a woman, or you're a sensitive, very emotive man taking up too much space, then you're abusive. But I think you're actually the real deal. I think you really, and I'm not saying he's not abusive. I'm sure he's, extremely fucking annoying. But I think that the stuff you're saying is really
What do you
scary.
think is abusive? What do you think? I think you're putting a lot of weight on the part where I said that I need to take space.
Well, okay, you're doing it right
space
now.
to me,
You're doing it
space
right
to me
now.
sounds
You'll say what do you think is abusive, right? And you've made a move in the conversation. Let's break it down, because you're doing a lot of things. You're doing a lot of things very quickly. You'll say, what do you think is abusive? And then within less than a second, you'll say, because I, and so you're gaslighting me. You're making it seem like you
I don't mean to.
You're making, well, now you're doing it again, but you're making it seem like you're asking me a question, and there's actually space to give you feedback about what I think is abusive. But then you show immediately that there wasn't any space. You would you'd actually accomplish the same thing by saying, you're wrong and I don't care about what you think about this. That would be a more honest way to express that. So that's confusing, but to answer your question that you may or may not want me to answer.
I do.
You've got like a lot of interlocking. You ever play Magic: The Gathering?
No, never.
You ever play something like
I'm not a
Overwatch?
gamer.
You ever play Overwatch? Okay.
No.
Well, sometimes you'll play a game where certain abilities interact with other abilities in a way that make them like way more powerful and potent. And so you're doing this thing where each of these on its own is not that bad. But one thing you'll do is, like I said, you'll go from specific to vague without acknowledging that that's what you're doing. And so you'll say, here's my advice for you. Why don't you just, respect yourself? Stop being like a wound. You're an open wound. Here's what I think about you.
I didn't say stop.
And then other times.
I didn't say stop.
Or yeah, whatever. I'm just saying it's vague. I understand you didn't say stop. But
And it's okay to be vague.
Yeah, that's fine. It's not okay to be vague when you
It is when I'm just saying, just notice it. Just notice what you're feeling.
Yeah, but even that doesn't really mean anything. And so
yes, it does, because
eventually,
oftentimes,
let me just
viewer,
explain. I understand you think these things are okay to do. You don't need to tell me that. I know that you think that. But I'm explaining why they're not okay to do. So if you override me explaining why they're not okay with why you're saying that they are okay, even when those reasons are not necessarily related to each other, you're again just making it seem like we reached a conclusion that they're okay to do. And you may say things that I agree with about how they're okay to do, but I'm explaining how I even precluded this by saying each of these things individually is not abusive. So you can't really go and then start defending each individual thing. That doesn't really make any sense. I need you to look at the whole package. So one thing is rug pulls about what we're talking about and how we're talking about it. Another thing is emotional and physical withdrawal.
I'm so lost in this conversation.
Mm-hmm. Saying I'm going to pull away from you, and you only have to do that a couple times before the person.
Can I clarify what I meant?
No, because you said it, so it doesn't matter.
Because you don't want me to clarify.
This is perfect. The clarification part actually is another part of the package of abuse. So you can say, I'm not going to be able to connect with you emotionally or physically, and then you can say, I'm going to need to separate myself. So now I'm going to need to separate myself in the mind of.
Okay, I'm super curious. Maybe I'm missing it. Actually, I could be. Somebody can tell me if they have a different impression. If you were to give one big criticism to Max for this conversation, what would the criticism be? I'm super curious. Okay, so here's a feeling I get when I'm listening to his conversations. I wonder if this can be generalized to more people or something he does. This is what I feel like, okay? Somebody might tell me, I am unhappy with my partner, okay? And we'll start here. Now, could be for this reason, this reason, this reason, or this reason, right? What I'll usually say is like, oh, well, why are you unhappy? And it's like, oh, because of this. And then from there, it's like, when they do that thing, let's see. Well, why does that particular thing make you unhappy? Well, it could be because of an insecurity, past trauma, they just really hate it, the partner does this thing in a shitty way. You ask them, like, oh, and then they tell you, okay. And then from there, it's like, okay, well, what about, what do you want to do, blah, 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 and you ask them. I feel like sometimes when Max is talking to people, it doesn't feel like he ever asks them, or he's not asking a lot of questions. But instead, somebody will say like this, and he assumes, oh, it must be because of that. And now he's trying to like get to like this part, and they'll say something where they think that they'll be like up here, and then he's like, oh, you must be here. And then they'll say something where they think they're like up here, and then he's like, oh, you're down here. Maybe I could be wrong. It's something I'm just missing them. But it feels like it's very rare that he ever asks clarifying questions to figure out what the other person is thinking or feeling. Maybe I'm missing that, but like I feel like there's a lot of this conversation that could be solved if he would just be like, well, what do you mean when you say this? Or explain why you feel this way about this thing. Rather than like cutting someone off and going, you're doing this because of that. You're trying to do this because of that. And then I feel like when you go further down that conversation road, it feels like at some point you like the conversation is gonna get so detached from where the other person is that now you're in like either very weird hypotheticals or I don't know. That's kind of what it feels like. But I'll try to listen more for him asking, I guess, like clarifying questions. But we'll see.
The abusee, in this case me, that means I'm going to withdraw from you. And then you can say, oh, can I clarify what I meant? And then you can keep diluting it, but the original threat is still there. And now you can refer to the threat and keep making the threat without actually explicitly making it. And then that combined with, you clearly start out with an agenda of like, I'm trying to get you to do something, but then you'll really quickly back away from that.
Now it feels like he's going through, because like, some of the things could just be, well, she's nervous, or she just hasn't clarified her thoughts, or she hasn't thought through enough to like be able to resolutely say this is what, right? But now he's like, it feels like he's laid out the whole path, and it's like, damn, I don't know.
And say, I'm not trying to get you to do something, even though I just described myself as a trainer in my relationship. I'm a trainer and a teacher, and I try to mold people into doing things. So you come in announcing that you try to force people to do things. But now, as we get further and further into a hypothetical, actually, every time I call your bluff, your boundary disappears and you move to a new position. Wait, hang on. You move to a new position, which actually prevents us from ever having an impasse, which is why I'm saying you're never actually really setting a boundary. And maybe you wouldn't withdraw emotionally or physically. Maybe you just say that you would. But I think setting boundaries with no intention of actually holding them, just to try to get the other person to do what you want them to do, which it sounds like this is a thing you engage in. I do think that alone is abusive, combined with all the other shit. And I think you've got
it's some of the way, and she's too mindfucked now in the conversation to go anywhere, so this conversation is done. Destiny, he has a random caller coming and saying dumb shit. How much do you think he's going to try and charitably understand what they're saying? Oh, okay, well, never mind, forget it. You're right, this is way more based. Okay, good observation, stroke my toad. Never mind. Okay.
You said you were going to let me talk for 2 hours. I'm wondering when that's coming up. I really do appreciate your feedback, and I think that I do have a tendency to come off a little brash at first. I'm not very
I'm very
good at
sensitive to brashness and bluntness, and I mistook that
Well, no.
for a complex system of manipulation and emotional abuse. That must be
Well,
what it is.
I do also think that you're operating off of the system where your mother has triggered you, and now you have this agenda that you attach to women.
Aha. And now this is the abuser checklist. When
Max, you're
somebody
right.
when
Max,
somebody
you're right.
calls you abusive, you just bring up their traumatic
No,
childhood
no,
and say
Max,
you're
right.
you're not.
I have been abusive. Can I talk, please?
No, I'm saying you are currently being abusive in this conversation.
And I'm okay.
You are being abusive.
Okay,
If somebody
so
calls
how,
you abusive, you can't just say, you might think it, but it's probably abusive to say, well, I'll just trigger you now by bringing up your abusive mother, and then
I'm sorry.
hope I see an out as you react emotionally. But you're just changing the subject. I just called you abusive, and you said, no, I'm just brash. And then I said, well, no, that doesn't work. And you said, well, no, you had a traumatic childhood, Max. You don't know.
I
think
I'm allowed to voice. I think I'm allowed to voice when I feel like I've been mischaracterized. But you could be right. I could be.
Why do you have to
I
bring up
have
my
been
mother
abusive.
why do you have to bring up my mother to voice that you think you've been mischaracterized? Why wouldn't
Because
you
I
respond
think because you
based
do
on the
this thing where you
characterization I
call
made?
women demons, and so half of why I think I'm getting mischaracterized is because you are attaching things to, at least subconsciously, things that I don't think. So
I know, but still, you're not responding about
can I
what
talk
you think.
next, please?
No, not really. You're not responding to what I've actually said about you. You're now
Okay,
just.
so I will.
This is called
I will.
discrediting the witness.
Okay, so I
Okay,
will.
I made testimony against you, and now you're saying that I'm sex. You're saying, ladies and gentlemen of the jury,
What can I do in this
ignore these
situation?
photos of me psychologically murdering my fiance for a second. Those don't matter. This man here is a sexist, traumatized abuse victim, and we all have we have the utmost sympathy for him as somebody who was psychologically abused by his mother and his family. But we also know that this makes him unable to make accurate character judgments, and in this case.
I think you made an accurate character judgment, but I think that you have a radar up that picks up very slight, even residuals of something, because you're very smart and you're very
I said it's a subtle and complex system of abuse, but you're saying it's just normal. But I'm just I'm oversensitive. I'm picking up residuals.
Max, I feel extremely unheard, and I'm actually trying to have a conversation
Well, I'm
with
not
you.
really listening to what you're saying, so that makes sense.
I would like you to listen to what I'm
You know
saying.
what?
It means
Actually,
a lot to me that
you know what's
listen to
weird?
what I say.
I might be hearing you better than most people hear you. I think I'm hearing what you're saying, but I'm not hearing what you're saying. You feel me? You're telling me you're saying one thing, but meanwhile
maybe
you got your hand in the cookie jar.
Yeah, you could be right. I think that
I'm definitely right.
Okay. At least consciously, it's not what I'm trying to do in the conversation.
I know. Who wants to be an emotional abuser? You're just scared. I know that. I'm not saying you are choosing this.
Sure, but I think that, and I think that you're right, but I think that you're doing the thing that you really hate that people do with you, is that you're coming off very uncharitable and you're coming off as very aggressive. And I
got to put my foot down and say abuse is abuse, especially when you're doing the tactics to me in the conversation. I have to stop you. But I don't think you should abuse your fiance, and I don't think I should.
And I'm in therapy for it. I know.
Okay.
You're right.
Okay.
Can I just clarify what I actually
How much? I think this is like 10 minutes longer. Sorry, we're almost done.
meant by the emotional and physical space is just like we need to retry this conversation at a later date, or we just need not to break up, but I just need to go away. There needs to be something I can't engage in this.
That's withdrawal, and I understand that your emotional experience of it might be that I'm freaking out, I have to get out of the room, blah blah blah. But actually, if you take out what you think you're doing and look at what you're actually doing,
this is not my first inclination though.
That's
this
fine.
is what
That's not
my
relevant to
therapist
what I'm
has
saying.
told me
That's
to
okay.
do.
That's not. I don't care what your therapist told you to do. That's not
Okay.
relevant. That's not relevant.
But
to the feedback
my knee-jerk reaction
that's not relevant to the
stay in
feedback
it.
I'm giving you. I want you to listen to
My
me.
knee-jerk reaction is to stay in it.
That doesn't
keep
matter.
re-triggering each other.
I actually don't care about what you think of your own behavior.
Max, it is. I'm really trying to have a
I don't
conversation
care.
with you,
I
and it
just
feels
said
like I've entered a debate.
I just said. Let me play this back for you. I just said the sentence. I don't care what you think of your own behavior, and you said, Max, I'm really trying. I don't care. I don't care.
Can you go all the way back to the beginning, see if we can understand it this time?
I don't care what you think you're trying to do. We've already established that we both are doing things that we're not aware we're doing. And so if I'm trying to confront you, I'm saying, I think you're doing stuff you don't know that you're doing. And you're saying, well, here's what I think about. And here's what I tell myself. Here's what
How do I stop abusing you?
I think you would need to open up the conversation to the possibility that your narrative of what you're doing and why you're doing it is not the end all be all. It's important and you should hang on to it. I don't think it should be torn away from you. But I also think you need to take into account that the other person can also give you feedback about what you're doing and why you're doing it. And it's always going to be ugly
I
feedback.
agree with that.
Because if you're being abusive, you're never going to do something unless you're like a sociopath. You're never going to do something that you yourself define as abusive. So we already know from the get-go that any emotional abuse is going to be in your own blind spot. So anything I say to you is not going to immediately resonate with you as something, oh yeah, I did decide to do that. Of course you're not deciding actively to do this like Pavlovian misery training with your fiance where you withdraw emotionally and physically every time he does something you don't like, including crying. But I'm saying
it's a survival skill.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, I think that you are probably exporting your own internal Pavlovian misery training, that when you feel like you need to cry and scream in your office and ask for help, you withdraw emotionally and maybe physically from yourself.
Yes,
there's a reason you're doing it. I'm not saying I'm not. Okay.
And can I tell you why I do this though? Because
No,
I have been on the other. Okay.
It doesn't matter.
I'm just gonna fucking tell you anyway, because
Okay.
I am
But
someone
this
who
is-
has
you-
I am someone who have hit partners before. If I
believe
don't
you.
stop myself,
No.
if
this
I
is-
don't stop myself,
I would rather
I get
be.
so emotionally unregulated that I cannot. I see red.
I would rather be punched in the face than endure what you're describing, though.
And I think that most probably people would disagree with you, and maybe that's just because of the weight that we hold punching to emotional manipulation. I know that we probably both hold emotional manipulation.
There
way
ain't
higher.
no law against gaslighting.
Sure, but it does hurt us far greater and creates a deeper wound that lasts longer, right? But even in my brain, I'm like, okay, hitting is worse. Because to me, hitting is like the point of no return. Maybe that's stupid.
Well, I don't think.
But I would.
I'm not advocating for hitting your fiance. I don't think you should do that either. But what I'm advocating
think I might
for,
after this. I'm so angry. I'm feeling so unheard.
Okay, well, I don't think you should blame me for your domestic abuse situation.
Oh,
but
jeez, that was a joke.
Kind of, but it's kind of not. So yeah, my final thought here, and then you can say yours, and then we have to move on to the next abuser. My final thought is that your grip over the narrative of what is happening in your relationship may be very comforting to your fiance and comforting to you, but that seems to be like above all.
Damn, that's
what
a
you
good item.
kind of like shift around. You seem to always have one hand on that, and the narrative. And if you always make the narrative one in which you are not abusive,
so I think
then you necessarily will be.
I think that you are in your survival skill right now, and I think that I said
This is your
something to
final
you
statement.
that you didn't like, and you
This is
saw
your
a
final-
chink in my and you saw a
Don't use
place
slurs
in
on
my
channel.
armor. I'm sorry. You
I'm
saw
just
a
kidding.
place that
Chink
you
is
saw
not
a
a
place.
slur. It's actually a word. Also.
Oh jeez, you saw a chink in my armor.
Yeah.
And you made this about me, and
Yes.
and we can talk about me. That's fine. I think I've taken this pretty well. But I wanted to talk about you, and I
Well,
feel like
Yeah.
you have done me a grave disservice. And even though I might have abused you in this conversation, I feel like you made this conversation so unlivable for me that it was like you gave me no outs, no ins. I had to ask how to stop abusing you. You didn't move the conversation any, like, it felt like you were so aggro towards me that you even told me that, like, you didn't care. And I don't know if that's a way to foster healthy communication. If this is Mr. Girl hotline, I just yell at someone who was pretty charitable and wants to have a discussion with me, then you did it pretty well. But
No,
I think that
no,
I'm
that's not
someone
what that
who
was.
came in pretty good faith to you, Max, and
I don't
you
think you know when you're being
obliterated
good
it.
faith.
Why do you
I'm sorry. This conversation has a lot of. It's just, jeez.
think I don't know that. I came in and I was like, I really want to let him know.
But
that
then when
I,
you get the feedback that you're not being good faith, you spend the entire time arguing about it.
because I
So,
don't think
like,
that you can attach
but if-
intent to me, but I also can understand how
I
it
will,
felt
but
to
I
you.
can and I will. See, if you're not open to the feedback that you're not good faith, then you are necessarily going to be bad faith. You can't.
No, I
be
said
in
I'm
control- you
open
can't-
to it.
Okay.
I'm open to the fact that you saw it that way and that I acted that way.
George
But
Washington.
I think that people do things that maybe they don't mean to do because it's just a pattern that they can get into. Maybe I just got into my pattern, but I came in wanting something different than where we are right now.
Was a great man because he knew that if one person holds all the power with no checks and balances,
You hold all the power right now.
they will commit atrocities.
You hold all the power right now. I am nothing. I'm a nameless, faceless person, and you still felt the need to just beat everything out of me. When I came
just realized something
with
sad.
my tail in between my legs, my voice was shaking when I entered this call, and you saw a chink and you went for it.
Wait, this is actually true. I think this is actually probably the truest thing that's been said this conversation. I think that I've said this before. I think Max is really adept at navigating these types of conversations, and I think when he does see weakness, I think he goes really hard. So with all the assumptions and everything else, I think that's actually true.
And of course, and everything you said is probably true. And I will talk about it in therapy because I had an emotional response to it because I think it is true. But we weren't in here to talk about me. I didn't ask for advice. I was asking you questions. I was trying to get you deeper so that your audience could maybe understand where you were coming from, in the place where I was like, where in your life have you felt like no one was protecting you or speaking up for you, and somehow we got here?
When I hear about abuse happening, I have to try to stop it.
Jesus Christ.
I'm a
And that
superhero.
makes sense. No, and I know I do the same thing with other people and don't necessarily do it in my own life.
Okay.
I understand that, but I also
Right.
think that you took this conversation somewhere that I did not want it. I asked you a question. I would still like you to answer what it brings
I'm like
up
Superman,
for you.
okay? I'll save the day, but sometimes I gotta throw somebody through a gas station.
Sure, and I very much appreciate it, and I'm glad that I can take it, because if not, I've had to take a couple breaths. You are very good at what you do, and it is very confusing, and but it also makes it very hard to have a conversation with you, Max.
I understand.
But
I have to
I'm
end-
asking
I have to end
you,
this call, so there's your final last thing.
I would like to have a bigger call with you if you're open to it. I have a big following that I think would do really well with what you're saying if it was
Okay.
framed in a way.
Well, let's
That-
discuss that in Mr. Girl's inbox, in the inbox channel. Do you see that?
Okay, perfect. Thank you for absolutely obliterating me and giving me an ego death.
You're welcome.
But also, I hope that you know that I can empathize with you, and I feel for you when you felt the need to protect yourself because you felt like Steven wasn't.
And I feel for you and your need to
Abuse.
abuse people and control what they think. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, Max. Have a nice
You're
night.
welcome. You too.
Honestly, Mr. Girl very rarely reacts to what people say. He's mostly responds to what he thinks they said, which makes the comment so stupid. How are you able to play games and listen to Mr. Girl? I feel like listening to him is pretty exhausting, but I'm not paying attention to it. Oh, I kind of wondered this conversation. I was like, fuck, am I paying too much attention to my game and I can't hear what he's saying? But then I like super listened to what he was saying and I realized that, oh no, this conversation is actually just a clusterfuck that doesn't really make any sense. Fuck, I need a game to play desperately. Oh god, I can't just...
Again.
Hi, what's up, buddy?
Reeling. Seething.
What the fuck was what was the goal of that conversation? Jesus. Wait, hold on. What do you want to talk about right now?
Well, I guess I want to. I mean, I guess I kind of want to accuracy test because that conversation, literally, I was literally, I say gaslit into oblivion. I left that conversation going to my fiance and being like, do I abuse you? Like, I was so confused. And then I was also like, oh, is it abusive to take a break? Because that's what I was telling him that he should do instead of like calling Shaylin a bitch or saying she's a demon. I was like, you should emotionally regulate, notice that you're about to get unregulated, and take a break. Create physical or emotional space. Go for a walk, right? And then he made that into like withholding sex, and I was just like, oh my god. And then would not let me clarify. And then when I tried to dude, it was a fucking mess. Anyway, I left that conversation, talked to my fiance. I was like, am I abusing you? And he was like, no. In fact, I'm the one, like, he's in our relationship dynamic, I'm the one who wants to keep fighting because I feel like I can get through anything. Like, I will submit myself to as much chaos as possible because it's the way that I grew up. But I'm trying to learn how to take breaks. And I was like, I was watching his video and I was like, this would be helpful for him also. And then I watched the video with, I came into the call because I watched the video with you. I think her name's Kyla, and Max. And I was like, ugh, fuck, I was getting so upset. Kyla had a girl boss moment though when she was like, I forget what she said, but it was a girl boss moment. But it also made me really sad because I could tell that Max was feeling so like unheard, and he also felt like you were not protecting him, and he felt like you should have. And
I don't know if he felt like there were points in the conversation where I was supposed to be protecting him. I think he might have gotten.
No, I don't know. No. I don't think that you should have.
No. I'm trying to even that he thought I should have. I think there probably were points where he.
No. I think that you. No, I think that this is. I fully think that he felt like because you guys are friends that you should have taken a stance on him that was. I think Max is a good guy. He's crazy, but he's a good. And you did.
No, I think he was frustrated that I wouldn't take a side, but I think he knew going into that conversation that I wasn't probably going to be 100% on this side, just because.
Sure, but he was hoping.
Well, maybe. I mean, we all hope, but I don't think that was one of the chief things that he was expressing. Or had there? I don't think there was an undercurrent of like I wish Steven would just like blindly defend me regardless of how he feels. Although we kind of talked about that a little bit.
And I gave that to him, and he could have been like, no, fuck you, but he didn't, and he actually engaged with it for a second, but then he switched it.
Yeah, sure.
And that's all. I just wanted to see if there was truth in that, and then I was gonna have a follow-up question that was like, where in your life have you also felt like you were like someone was not protecting you, like. What comes up for you? Why do you get so emotionally dysregulated? Because also he got immediately emotionally dysregulated in that conversation, and then like snapped at Kyla and was like, "Why are you here?" And I was just like, "God, he's just only functioning off of his emotions."
Well, hold on, wait, real quick. So what conversation did you see? How long was it?
I didn't watch the whole thing, but I watched the part where Kyla was talking to Max, and then Max was like, oh, if you're gonna moderate.
Yeah, okay, I understand. Yeah. So I'll say that it's really important. That conversation, you probably caught the last third of what was a 6-hour conversation, and I think there was a lot of stuff leading up to that got everybody emotionally to the point that they were at. Which is probably something that's pretty important to be aware of too. So that in terms of explaining like everybody's emotional states
absolutely, I can engage with that. If he was like, no, that's not true, then I would have been like, okay, fuck, let's move on. Like, I was not so, I was not so gung-ho on trying to, like, psychoanalyze him. It really was something I noticed, and then I was accuracy testing with him, and then he kind of engaged with it, and then it just became something completely different.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And that was crazy. And then I also, God, I shouldn't have brought up his mom, or at least if I did, I shouldn't have brought it up the way that I did.
Yeah, because that's a big like I'm about to psychoanalyze your whole life, right?
Oh, no, totally. And I watched that back and I was like, oh God, like I couldn't even believe I was doing that. But I was trying to get it out so fast that I didn't think about cushioning it.
Mm-hmm.
And it was just like, oh God. And at that point I was just like, this conversation is going nowhere very fast. But yeah, I mean, I think it would have been apt if I was like, well, I don't think you're being charitable to me because I think that you have a bias against me because I represent something that you don't like, maybe that you've seen in another relationship, maybe that you've seen in a parental relationship. Like, I could have said it in a way that actually made sense and didn't, I mean, obviously he's very on the defensive constantly, and I shouldn't have given him something to be defensive about. And that's not the only thing I did bad in that conversation, but it definitely sticks out to me.
Gotcha. Okay.
Do you think that conversation was insane?
Yeah, I mean, it was a huge clusterfuck. Yeah, of course.
Okay, and dude, and then he has this like, this like, I don't know if the average MrGirl viewer is an incel, but they all were just like, yeah, she's a demon, and then it became an echo chamber, and I was just like, God,
yeah, don't ever watch. Streamer chats are always usually gonna like pretty valiantly side with their streamer, and then when you throw like sex-related stuff or like gender-related stuff in, it can get compounded depending on the internet communities that you're in.
Yeah, it was horrifying.
Yeah, well, the only thing I can really think of is that, like, yeah, if you're going into a conversation like that where there's going to be a decent amount of confrontation or an expectation of confrontation, be ready to be like super duper ultra chill, because people can get set off like very quickly, and then once you've like gotten somebody in a certain state of mind, it's basically it is impossible to make progress. Like once somebody is like, I don't want to say like Absolutely. Triggered, like as a, like the meme triggered, but like once somebody's actually like gotten like angry,
yeah,
it's like you're all over at that point. Nothing productive.
Yeah, it's the floodgates have opened.
Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely I think I could do that conversation better, and I think that I should, and I think that you should tell him that he should retry that conversation with me.
Oh yeah, that's nice. Clout sharking, good job. Good jump over to the streaming world. Okay, I approve.
I deserve a second chance.
He talks to people like of all shapes and sizes, or shapes and sizes of all like sizes of like audience, or shapes, if you will. I'm pretty sure if you send him like your TikTok or Instagram, he'd probably do it.
I did, but I think he hates me now.
Would he hate you? I don't know if he hates people that easily.
Maybe I think that he probably just thinks I'm useless though. Like I'm a girl, I exist. He thinks I'm an abuser now.
Yeah, so but I think he thinks like literally everybody is abusive, right?
Yeah.
So I don't think being called an abuser by him is that big of a deal. He literally will call. He probably thinks I'm an abuser. So
I'm sure that he does. Everyone else but him.
Well, no, he'd probably say even he's an abuser too. I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess. But do you think it's interesting that from what I got from his whole like Dr. K shit, is that he is very upset with the way that Dr. K like basically goes on stream, triggers people to no end, and then doesn't give them any sort of like out or doesn't prescribe anything, and just kind of it's all. I just felt like he did to me what he was so mad at Dr. K doing.
Well, the difference is that he would say that like he's pretty honest about what he does on his show, right? Like he's doing a show for entertainment, and that's what he does. Whereas Dr. K presents himself as a doctor, so there's like an elevated level of responsibility.
But MrGirl, but the whole brand that he's like, therapy, therapy, therapy. I went to school. I live in a family who does therapy. Like, I know everything. I know as much as a doctor.
Well, isn't he? Doesn't he say pretty
really
explicitly a lot
comfy.
that like I don't have time to watch anybody else kind of. Doesn't he say a lot
He
that
can
like
say whatever he wants, but when he positions himself to be this all-knowing God, and then
well, does he? Does he actually say? Does he actually say that? I don't know if he does. Does he say like, oh, my whole family's therapist and I'm a god and I know all of this?
Yeah. Well, he doesn't say I'm a god, but he says he said I grew up in a family. I grew up with my mom or dads were doctors. I've been to therapy my whole life. I'm very good at empathy. I'm very good at knowing people's intentions. Like, that's his whole thing. So just because he doesn't have a certification doesn't mean anything if your whole brand is to be this person.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, I'd argue the framing is a little uncharitable, but I guess this is kind of
Well,
his
I'm
criticism of
allowed.
Dr.
I'm
K.
allowed to be a little uncharitable. Okay, I'm an abuser.
Okay, true.
But do you think that advice was also like sound? Like,
Which advice?
To take a break?
I honest to God, I was having such a hard time following what the fuck you guys are saying. What? I mean, you can give it one more time, and I can tell you if you're right or wrong. What is your advice?
He made me exist in this hypothetical where I was him and he was Shaylin.
Yeah, and you were talking about what to do when Shaylin becomes emotionally dysregulated, right?
No, when he becomes emotionally dysregulated, because it doesn't matter what Shaylin does. What matters is that he becomes abusive to what Shaylin does because he's so bad at regulating his own emotions.
Okay.
So I was like, notice how you feel when something comes up, like you think that Shaylin is crying in the other room to get your attention. Notice how you feel. Tend to those emotions, tend to the wound that picks at. Acknowledge in yourself, I need a break, or I'm going to call Shaylin a bitch. I'm going to call Shaylin a demon, and just walk away for a second. And he was like, that's emotionally withholding. And I was just like, what the
Somehow,
fuck?
so, I mean, like, what you're saying right now is undeniably true. But I think it got reframed in really weird ways.
And then he wouldn't let me clarify. He said that I was changing what I was saying.
Yeah, because somehow at some point, I want to say you said something like going into her room and telling her that this is a boundary that you can't cry in her office or something.
No, he said that. He said that, exactly. He framed it so that I sounded like this crazy lady. And then I was just like, I didn't know where he was I didn't know how he got that. I didn't know how he was taking it that way, and so I couldn't even engage with it until I watched it back the second time and could see what that was what he was doing. I was so confused. You were confused watching it. I was so confused in the conversation. I can't even imagine. That conversation was so emotionally and physically exhausting for me. I cannot imagine. Like, I just can't even. I was going into it being like, okay, I think that him and Shaylin probably have a pretty normal relationship. Like, maybe he's just showing us this because it's inflammatory, it's fun, it's entertainment. And then I walked out of that like, oh my God. Was I being too charitable? Like, I don't, it was a lot. It was a lot.
Yeah, well, damn.
But thank you for telling me that I was right. That's all I needed to hear.
Well, hold on. I'm not going to say you were right. I'm saying the conversation was a clusterfuck. Because I'm not even one. Because I got lost as fuck throughout that conversation between the analogies and like the hypothetical and what the fuck was going on. So I know.
Yeah. And then he brought up George Washington.
Yeah. I would tend to agree with you that. Or I wouldn't say that. I would say that it is correct that if one person, if you're ever emotionally dysregulated, almost universally, what people tell you is you need to do something to bring yourself to a more calm state before you have a conversation or make any decisions. That's like universally true. Yeah.
Exactly.
But the way that got expressed, and I don't know if it was you or him that
it wasn't me,
got to that point of like telling like, well, Shaylin, if you can't cry in your office or whatever, things got really weird. Yeah, I'm just not 100% sure where it ended, how it got to that point.
No, dude, he like made that up. I literally was like, when she comes back in, just tell her that. Tell her how you feel and then engage with those and then he made it like, why would I walk into her office? And I was just like, what? Like, and then he brought up a story about how he didn't want to even see her if she was in her office, and I was just like, what is going on?
If somebody wants to link the clip of the comment where this happened, we can go back and watch it. But okay, damn. Okay, well, what a chat.
Dude, I need to have another one. Now that I've gotten a taste of streaming, I'm like a shark hungry for blood.
Well, start streaming more. I mean, what do you want to do?
I guess I'm just. I
Do you,
guess
are
I
you
don't
able
know
to stream like on
how to
TikTok?
start
Do
it.
they have like the ability to do that, or
Yeah, but I was canceled on TikTok. So
what
no
is
one
that?
wants
I
to
don't
hear me-
know. You're not like 21, right? You're a little older, right? I feel like we've talked
Yeah,
about this
a
before. I
little
don't want
older.
to. Yeah, I
I'm
don't want to
23.
expose you. Wait, are you actually only 23?
Yeah, I'm baby.
Oh, Jesus. Okay, never mind. So you are actually a fucking child.
Well, I'm 23 and 3/4.
Yeah, okay. You have to explain to me what it means when you said you were canceled on TikTok, because that means different things. Because you're talking to an actual canceled person, okay? So I don't know what you mean when you say you're canceled. What does that mean?
No, I was canceled. I lost 40,000 followers.
Okay.
And every time I post anything, everyone's like, "You're a crazy turf." Like dude.
Okay, so people say mean things about you. Don't you have like a fucking million followers or some shit, or am I crazy?
No, people are like, well, I had 700,000.
Okay.
And now I have significantly less, and people are like boycotting me.
What did you get canceled for? What'd you do?
I said, so I saw a video where someone was like, just like the new age, like women shouldn't, like, it's weird when a woman feels connected to her vagina. And I was just like, that is the dumbest thing I've ever heard in my fucking life. Like, I'm a female, and I'm a woman, and I feel connected to my vagina, and I think that's beautiful. And people were like, how could you say this? This is essentialism. And I was just like, Christ. And then I dug myself a deeper hole because I doubled down, and I was like, I don't give a fuck about you blue hair non-binaries. Like, I went nuclear, and I shouldn't have. But
you guys brought this on yourselves. You Zoomer fucks, okay, are all gonna cancel each other into fucking oblivion. I hate all of you so much, but I'm not this person, and it's why I want to make the jump to like longer form content. I think I would do better in something like streaming, because the short form, like, Zoomer. I mean, I'm on the older side of Zoomer. Like, I can kind of get with it, but a lot of it is like lost on me. This whole like genderless society utopia is very like not. Sure.
It's just crazy. It's very crazy. And then it was fucking with my money, so that's canceled. I make significantly less money now, so I've been like hiding.
Have you? Well, okay. First of all, don't ever do that. You have to keep making content, because if you, number one, yeah, you say that. Fuck. Actually, never mind. I'm not gonna give you advice because nobody listens to it anyway. You should just make like a. No, you won't. You won't. Nobody does. Okay. Here's the reality. I've told at least 3 different people this. Yeah. Well, here it goes. Okay. I've told this to 3 different people. All 3 didn't. Okay. I know how internet shit works. I've been streaming for like 12 fucking years or 13 years or some shit. Okay. This is how it works. If you get quote unquote canceled, there are 2 paths that you can go. One is the don't give a fuck route, and you keep posting, you post through it, because people only remember your last 3 posts. Okay. That's how it works generally. You're always gonna have some contingency of haters, but if you keep making content moving forward, that's fine. But if you let it get you down, you take a little break, whatever, you're done forever. You should delete your shit right now and never come back, because it will define you, and it will always hang over you, and you will never come back. Because you're not gonna rebrand. Why would you throw away your whole branding? That's so stupid. At that point, go fucking FTM and try to make it as a guy doing fucking sports somewhere. Okay?
I'm getting trans.
Yeah, don't do that. Okay. I'm just saying that, like, if you keep posting and if you keep pushing through it, yeah, there's gonna be people that'll be mad. But eventually, like, I mean, you got however many followers you have for a reason, right? It's not like fucking random. So if you keep going, you can do it. But there are so many people who, when they get through an event like this, and I understand. I'm sorry, I'm being really mean, but I'll be empathetic.
No,
right?
You're not being mean.
I am being mean. Don't tell me I'm not being mean. Now you're being abusive. Okay. I understand because you're younger, and when you have some event happen like this. No, shut the fuck up, you bitch. Okay, I am older than you. Okay, listen. When you go through an event like this, it feels like the end of the world, because it is literally the worst thing that's ever happened in your life, or arguably the worst thing, at least online, that's happened to you. And I understand that. I can empathize with that. What I will tell you is that when you're going through,
it's not the first time I've been canceled. I've been canceled a bunch of times. I was in the iDubbbz era. A lot of my tweets resurfaced. Like, I've been canceled a ton of times. This time is the time where it feels like my world is crumbling.
It always feels that way. But as soon as you're out,
never felt like this before.
I know. They
follow me. They followed me onto another platform. I was in a Jubilee video about sex work, and they were commenting under that and was like, do not buy this girl's OnlyFans. Do not engage with her content because she's a TERF. She's super transphobic. And I was like, oh my God. It's like, it got like a ton of likes. I was like, oh my God. Like, what is going on?
Okay, what do you think are your options?
Die.
Yep, that is one. Suicide is always there.
Become dethrone MrGirl as most transphobic streamer.
Okay, yep, that is another option, I guess.
Transition so that I get oppression points, and so they can't cancel me anymore.
Okay, that is another option.
No,
Usually
you're right.
girls
You're
just dye their hair
right.
blue, get a couple more piercings to call themselves non-binary.
Exactly.
But if you want to do hormones, you can do that.
I mean, I can either apologize again.
That
these are my
never
options.
works.
I can
There's
either
never
apologize,
ever any
denounce
point in apologizing.
everything.
Yeah, don't apologize on the internet for anything ever. Okay, there's literally no point. But
it says you also like king of just doubling down on everything.
yeah, exactly. And guess what? I'm doing better than if I would have apologized for everything. So yeah, there you go. Hey, listen,
Yeah.
I've outlived most of my haters. All right, there's a reason why. Okay.
That's true. I mean, you're completely right. You're completely right, and I should just. This is the pep talk that I needed. Thank you, Stephen.
Yeah, just keep posting. Don't if you let it, because here's what happens too, okay? Is you go to post again and you see a few hater comments show up, and then you get discouraged again, and then you stop, and then if you don't post for a long time and you only ever post like every now and then because you're discouraged, every time a few comments pop up, they're gonna like shit on you again, and that's the only reason people will comment is because you barely ever post. So just go back to doing your shit, go as hard as you can, and then fucking do your shit, okay? Like, yeah, that's all you could do. That's literally all you could do. Or you can feel a little bit depressed about it and kind of mope and don't post or whatever, blah, 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 and then you're done, 100%.
And then the internet forgets about me.
No, they will never forget if you don't ever do anything. If you don't do anything, then they'll remember you. Say, oh, yeah, there's a girl that stopped when she got canceled because she was vaginophobic or whatever the fuck, transphobic probably. Because that's the last memory that people have would be that drama, right? And that's what will stay with people. It's like, oh, yeah, that was a transphobic person, and then that's it. So you have to do something more if that's not the last impression that you want to leave people with.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. Which is why I want to talk to Max again.
Max is not your road to redemption or your path to salvation. I don't know if you think that's going to be the case, but
no, I figured if I could have a conversation with him, then I could have a conversation with anyone.
That's probably true, but you're going to like the final boss of difficult conversations. Like
I know I'm not pacing myself at all.
Yeah, if you already have issues like talking, relating around stuff like this, like how are you going to?
I'm trying to find a way. Also, like I'm trying to get off of away from this like TikTok 30-second video bullshit.
Mm-hmm. You should do like do streaming and YouTubing or streams and then put your shit on YouTube. No, can't you like advertise on TikTok like, hey, I'm doing a live stream here or some bullshit?
Yes, and here's another thing, because I'm bigger on TikTok, I'm starting from ground zero, and that's so embarrassing.
Hold on, you don't know what ground zero is, bitch. Okay, you are not starting from ground zero if you have 700,000 followers.
Basically.
You're not.
They don't want to watch me stream. They want to watch me
dude,
clad.
I hate women so much. I hate them all.
Okay, but your female hatred feels very different.
If you, yeah, because my female hatred is legitimate and based. If you start streaming on Twitch or YouTube, you've already done it once, didn't you? You had over 100 viewers in your first stream, didn't you?
Yeah, but like just 100, that's so embarrassing. This is pride.
The problem is that like there was I went trap shooting a while ago, and when I came back to Florida, I live in Miami now. I got on this fucking reserve list for this sick ass fucking Browning shotgun, and it was supposed to be here within 2 weeks. I have like 2 days.
Guns are so cool.
And I don't have it yet, and I wish I did, because every time you talk, I want to fucking Kurt Cobain myself, and I can't do it. And it is just triggering the ever living fuck out of me. How many viewers do you think you need for your first fucking stream? 1,000? 10,000? 50,000? 100 viewers is a lot of viewers. Okay, wait. Okay, hold on. Wait, actually, let me pull it back. Let me be more empathetic, okay? Because actually, I do understand a little bit, okay? 100 viewers in streaming is a lot. It seems like nothing because when you're on like TikTok, if you have 10,000 followers on TikTok, you're not shit, really, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. If you have 10,000 viewers on a stream, you are making over $1 million a year in income on just streaming. It's the conversion for like value in viewers is way higher in live streaming. You're better off having 10,000 concurrent viewers on a stream than you are having 1 million subs on YouTube. It's massively disproportionate. So if you can live stream and get up like to 1, 2, 3, 400, 500 like live concurrent viewers, like you're on the road to making a really, really decent amount of money. Like 400 or 500 viewers can get you like well, you're a girl, so a low 6-figure income probably just on that viewership alone, and then your other monetization channels or whatever. So like funneling to your OnlyFans or whatever other bullshit you do. So don't get discouraged by starting out with only 100 viewers. That was with one fucking stream, and you didn't even advertise it that hard, so you could probably get more too. So keep moving forward, okay?
I'll keep moving. I'll keep moving. Thank you for this pep talk, Dad.
Okay, don't get discouraged, okay? There are a million sad, lonely guys, okay, who are fucked in life.
Just waiting for me to abuse them.
No, well, yeah, that too.
telecast.
But I'm just saying, when you say things like everything you said, you're an incel factory, okay? You're creating incels en masse. You're turning me into an incel, okay?
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Well, actually, no, I'm not sorry. You're right, but I'm not sorry. Thank you.
Okay. Buy a hot
I
tub, get
appreciate
an ASMR mic. Good luck. All right, have fun. Be careful.
All right,
Bye.
bye.
White women expect the world to be handed to them. I'm starting from nothing. I turned on my stream and I only had 100 viewers. Who was that? People are linking her TikTok. Link to the crying reaction.
The best that I could. I would try to laugh about it so I didn't break something.
Okay, so I did that.
And then when she came back and was ready to talk like an adult, I would have said, "You cannot do things like this anymore."
You can't
When
cry
I
in your
said
own
about-
office?
Well, I mean, the implication was that she was crying so you could go take care of the best that I.
Oh, she's working on the framing that, oh, this is such a fast one. I think, I don't think anything is intentional. When I say anything is intentional, it sounds like she's working off the framing. Hold on, MrGirl just messaged me. She's working off the framing that he's saying that Shaylin is crying intentionally. And so she is saying in this conversation that you have to tell her that she can't cry intentionally anymore in order to get your attention. But he's interpreting it as you're saying that I have to tell her she's just not allowed to cry in her office anymore, period. I think that's the miscommunication that happened here. I think that's what it sounds like. Or you guys can take the other thing and you can actually think that she's legitimately saying you should tell your partner they can never cry. But I think that's what's being said here. Because now she's confused at the end, I think, because then he brings up
Anymore.
He's like,
when I
in your
said
own
about
office?
you telling me that she can't cry in her own office? And then she gets confused. She's like, well, wait, I didn't mean that she can't cry, but you said, and then she's about to say,
well, I mean, the implication was that she was crying so you could go take care of the
yes, that's what she was under the assumption. Oh, so she's getting like mind fucked. I need a game to play in the background. I'm gonna lose my fucking mind. I'm gonna play Factorio. I'm about to do Factorio again. $20 till dawn. I don't know what the fuck this shit is.
You just platformed the devil.
What a small world.
I know.
Damn. How do you feel like it went? Why do you gotta call everybody an abuser, man?
She's an abuser. She's a textbook emotional abuser.
Do you think you're an abuser?
No.
Do you think I'm an abuser?
I think that you and I both do things that are at times emotionally abusive. For sure. I think everybody does, but I think you and I, with great power comes great responsibility. We probably do things that are abusive more often than the average person because we're better at it, you know?
Give me the line around the difference between like abusive and like does things that are abusive. Is there like a difference to you, like in severity, or yeah, what does that mean?
Well, so I think there's a prescriptive difference in terms of like, some of the things you tell me to do, I think are abusive. When I think you're trying to make me more abusive, and then I think some of the things I've done that I defend make you think I'm more of an abuser than I would if I did it and I said, well, I shouldn't have done that.
Can you
So
say that
like
again?
I think
Yeah.
okay. Yeah, so like you can so if I like there's a video of me screaming at Shaylin calling her a fucking idiot outside of a grocery store.
Oh yeah, we saw it in the parking lot
Yeah,
at night.
in the parking lot at night, right? So I'm not proud of that. You don't see me going around saying like, no, 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 no. That was me being honest. I was expressing myself. I had to do that. So that makes me that's abusive, but it doesn't make me look like an abuser unless I'm saying like, no, that was great. You know what I'm saying? So I think that's the difference is like if you do abusive things, but then later you're like, no, I should have done them, and that was good that I did that. Then I think it's more you're starting to get more into being an abuser.
Wait, so I feel like there's a contradiction. I'm just gonna ask, and maybe you can clarify because it sounded like with the girl you were talking to, it sounded like you said at one point that no abuser would actually say that. They'd be like, well, obviously I'm not being abusive, or it's not intentional. It just happens, right? Are there really, with the line for abuser, you'd say an abuser is just somebody that looks back at their abusive behavior and is unremorseful? Because I feel like a lot of abusers are constantly remorseful and they're like, oh, I'm so sorry I did that, but then they keep doing it, right?
Yes, that's true. Okay, so I guess that's another way you can be an abuser. And so the way I think she's an abuser is I think she actually thinks the abusive things she does are good.
Okay.
Okay, so I'm saying they're abusive, and she's saying no, they're not abusive. It's good that I'm doing this. That's why I don't think you should platform her, and why I am not going to do a stream with her, because I think the messages she's sending are terrifying and abusive, and she wants them to be. So I would platform her if she was like. If she had called in and she'd been like, wow, I do this really fucked up thing where I tell my boyfriend he's not allowed to express his feelings or I'm going to emotionally withdraw from him and not have sex with him. If she said that, like, that's fine. Then it's like, well, now you're being honest. But if you're going to say it's good that you do that, or then obfuscate that you just said that, or try to mind fuck me right after you say it, then it's like, well, now you're telling people to be abusive. That seems bad. But I agree with you. There is the constantly guilty, repentant abuser who just is in a pattern of doing the same thing over and over again and doesn't actually want to change it, but just feels really bad about themselves.
Sure. Yeah, and I'm not like trying to say that like you have to rigidly define. I was just curious if in your head there was like a rigid definition, or if you're just kind of like using terms or whatever. And yeah, because like I understand there are like people can be abusive, and then you have like abusers. And I would say like that's probably someone does abusive things a lot or something. But,
I'm not likely to call someone an abuser unless they're saying, I believe in this behavior. This is good. This is a good way to handle it, and I think it's abusive.
Okay. I'm so curious, okay? And let me be clear, Max, okay? I'm on the other end of the room right now. My one leg is hanging out the window, ready to jump, okay? So that I'm not pressuring you or anything. But I'm just really curious. Do you two want to chat, and I can just listen to see if you agree on more than you think, or if there are actually real disagreements here? Because I can't tell if that last conversation was both of you trying to mindfuck each other or what. Or because you said earlier, I don't want to talk to her because she seems like an abusive person. So like, yeah, you don't have to. But I'm just curious if you wanted to try that.
No, sure, I'll try it. But I want to say before you,
go
before
for it.
Before she's allowed to interrupt
absolutely
me and start mind fucking me and you, and this can be part of our demonology intervention where I'm trying to teach you how to be a demonologist like I am.
True.
And,
I already hate women just for different reasons, but go ahead.
Yes. Right. Of course. When we can work with that, that's going to be really helpful in this.
Okay, that's good.
Obama.
When she said I would set a boundary around Shaylin crying in her office.
Okay, so like,
and I said, okay.
Or you finish. Actually, go ahead, finish.
Yeah. So, the problem there that I kind of jumped over it without explaining it, but the problem there is the power of definition. Who gets to decide why she's crying in her office? Is it Shaylin or is it me? In her example, it was me. So functionally, if I get to decide, if Shaylin goes and cries and she wails loudly in her office, if I'm listening to it and I say, well, that doesn't sound like grief to me. That doesn't sound like sadness. That sounds like controlling. So you're not allowed to do that. Then effectively, I am deciding that my empath mind reading, deciding what you're feeling things actually is not just what I believe or what I'm experiencing, but it's actually taking real precedent in the relationship. It takes precedence over what you think is happening. I've now given myself the power of definition and the power of writing the narrative, and I'm defining your reason for crying. If I get to choose it, then effectively I get to decide when you're allowed to cry and where. And I think that is abusive. So it's one thing to tell your girlfriend, I think you're being manipulative by crying in your office. But it's another to say, I'm so sure that that's what you're doing that you're not allowed to do it anymore. you're not allowed to cry in your own office. It just that feels like
I feel like
yeah.
I could be wrong because I don't know. Maybe that'll get resolved in this conversation. But it sounded to me like when she was saying it, it was your framing of like it felt to me like this. It felt like you were saying that Shaylin was crying intentionally just to get your attention. In which case you would be able to say like, hey, like this is something you have to stop doing.
I don't think you're allowed to say that.
You don't think you can say that?
I don't think you can say you have to stop crying in your office, whatever the reason is. Shaylin and I have to be allowed to cry in our offices. No matter how bad the other person thinks their reason for doing that is. To me, the boundary around being in your own office, there is like a decibel level that you can't go above. Like, yes, I can't shoot like guns in my office. I can't play music like hard, like a metal 24 hours a day at top volume on my speakers. But given a reasonable amount of noise that you're allowed to make in your office, and crying certainly does not reach that threshold, I don't think we can then say like, well, you're allowed to listen to certain music, but other music, I don't want you listening to that. Or I think you're.
I understand what you're saying here.
It's personal space.
It feels like you're saying that you can't set boundaries that dictate like a partner's behavior when it doesn't involve you. Is that fair?
I think I would say it's that you can't set boundaries that are inside of somebody else's boundaries.
Mm-hmm.
And if there is a impasse or clash around that, it has to be negotiated very carefully. But to me, to say I'm gonna reach into your office and scoop out a big space for myself emotionally, and that you're not allowed to, like, well, then where the fuck is she allowed to cry?
I mean, I think it's just the center thing is that reason for crying, I guess.
Right, and who gets to decide? So obviously a piece of feedback I get a lot is that I decide what other people are feeling often, but that's that's an experiential thing. I'm describing that I'm experiencing a feeling about what other people are feeling, but that's a totally different thing when you're deciding who's allowed to do what, like in their own office. Like, what if I decide that Shaylin is
well? Let's before you give an example, let's reframe this a little bit.
Yeah.
So,
okay.
Or let's add a few words here to clarify what we mean. When we say I'm deciding what you're allowed to do, we're not really saying that. What we're really saying is I'm deciding what you're allowed to do, where I'm going to remain in a relationship with you. So for instance, I might say that like cutting is a very personal activity. You might use it for your own emotional regulation or dysregulation. If you're dysregulated, you might use it to regulate yourself. And it might provide you a great sense of personal satisfaction, comfort, alleviation from mental distress. But I might say, hey, if you're going to be a cutter, I don't think I want to be in a relationship with you. Now, I think that you can reframe that as, well, you're carving out from my very personal space, a personal activity that I'm doing that has no impact, and you're trying to set an aggressive boundary within my own sphere that dictates my behavior.
Right.
Anytime I can't do it. But we're not really saying, well, it's not that you're not allowed to do it. You can do that all you want. You can cut until the pigs fly home or some shit. There's a phrase there. Do whatever you want. You can cry in your room, do whatever, maybe, yeah. But insofar as me willing to remain in a relationship with you, I'm not okay with that behavior. I think that's kind of what it is. So
absolutely.
Yeah. So reframing go for it. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I think that's reasonable, because when your partner is cutting, it does have an impact on you. Yes, it's their body, but what they do to their body does emotionally and psychologically affect you. So I think the couple has to figure out like where that reasonable line is. And to me,
could that not be around like crying or crying loudly or something?
Yes, exactly. So if the rule is straight up, you can't cry loudly, then okay. So if your partner's cutting, you don't care why they're cutting, right? Like I don't want to be in a relationship with somebody who mutilates themselves. With the crying thing, the thing that makes it abusive inherently is not that I'm saying you're not allowed to cry at all in your office. I guess we could just agree mutually in our house crying is not allowed. I think that's, I guess, abusive to both of us because I just believe in emotional expression.
Wait, okay, hold on. Let's back up, and I need to hear this. When you say abusive, what does abusive mean to you? Let me talk for 2 seconds so that it doesn't feel like I'm trying to trap you. I feel like there can be things in relationships that are uneven, that aren't necessarily abusive.
Yes.
Yeah, and there could be boundaries
if they're agreed to. Yeah.
Yeah. So like, yeah. So for instance, like, I give my partner head. My partner never gives me head. Is that abusive? Well, it depends.
No,
Did you
no,
both
no,
agree
right.
on that?
No,
Yeah. If
no.
you both agreed on that or whatever,
Right.
then that's fine. Yeah. Even if it's uneven, there could be unfair things that aren't necessarily abusive. So I'm trying to figure out, what do you mean
Okay.
when you say abusive? Yeah.
I think that the more somebody cares about you, the more you can emotionally abuse them, because there's certain things, if you do 2 weeks after starting dating somebody, it's not going to be abusive because they don't love you, they're not attached to you, they're not relying on you. So if you say like, "Oh, I refuse to have sex with you today or for the next month because I don't like what you said," no one's going to say that's abusive because the person's not relying on you for sex. They just met you 2 weeks ago, so they're like, "Oh, well, you're a weirdo. I don't want to be with you." If you do that with somebody who is really emotionally entrenched with you, and you have all these like interconnecting emotional anchors in each other's lives, then when you withdraw, it actually is taking something like pretty big away from them. So I think when I'm talking about an inherently abusive setup, I'm talking about something where the person can't be psychologically safe. And so if I'm going to be in a high conflict relationship where feelings, especially with me, where I'm expressing my feelings, and then also say, but I'll break up with you if you cry. And I'm only instituting this new rule after we've been together for like almost 3 years. I think that creates a situation where she's going to be emotionally activated. She's going to have a lot of feelings. I get to express my feelings whenever I want. And she's not allowed to cry in her fucking office. Like that to me, that I guess it's just abusive in that it is like psychologically destructive, where her only choices are emotional suppression, and feeling like she's living under like an iron fist where she can't even feel things privately if she's gonna emote, or she has to leave. It just seems like a psychological trap. But the thing that makes it abusive, is particularly in the way this person is describing it, is that the rule is not just you're not allowed to cry. It's that I get to decide why you're crying. And if from listening through the walls into your office, I don't like the way you're crying, if I don't like the context in which you started crying, if I think that there's some kind of pattern, like it opens the door for so much projection of me being like, I'm deciding why you're crying, and because of the reason that you cried, that I decided, even if you don't agree with me, I'm going to withdraw from you.
From parent to child, do you think it's abusive for a parent to determine why a child is crying and to tell them that they can't cry?
Yes. I think there's certain situations where you can set a boundary around crying. So you can say, and I think boundaries should be set with love.
Of course.
And this is
Because,
another.
like,
This is
so,
another.
like, I can give an example here. So there are times when
Yeah.
Nathan would get really upset about something and he would cry because he's upset, which is, I think, to be
Yeah.
expected. If a kid is crying because something is genuinely upsetting, then I can't. Don't cry. You sound like a dipshit if you scream that at a kid. There were also times, especially when Nathan started to get, when he was like 8 or 9, when bedtime would mean like he's going to be in his room kicking, making noises, and crying sometimes because he's trying to get somebody to come in, open the door, have a conversation with him so that he can stay up later. That was just like a thing that if he didn't want to go sleep at a certain time, he'd do that. Do you think that it's abusive at that point? I shouldn't have made this personal now because I don't want to taint your. I don't care if you call me a bad parent or whatever. That's fine. Or abusive or whatever. It doesn't bother me. But I'm curious. Like at that
you
point,
know
like,
that I think that you do. So now we.
No, yeah,
Now we're
awkward. Okay, I have no child. I'm just kidding. This isn't about me. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. Let's say a parent goes into a child's room and they're like, "Hey, stop crying. I know you're just making sounds because you want me to come in and talk to you again to keep you awake past your bedtime. It's time to go to sleep." Do you think that that's like an abusive interaction for the parent to tell the kid like you need to stop crying and making noises?
I think it's confusing because you're doing the thing that they're trying to get you to do while saying that you're not going to do it. Like you are in their room having a conversation with them, even though it's probably not the conversation they want. You are not holding the boundary. If the boundary is like, I'm not going to come into your room and talk to you, you can't go into the room to say that. So I guess the way I would handle it is just don't.
Sure, you
just
might
don't
handle it
go.
differently, but I mean, at some point you might have to, because I would argue that
Well,
a
wait,
lot of child like acting out is usually for attention, but I mean, at some point you have to
Yeah.
give them some, especially if you're like in public areas, you have to give them some kind of attention, otherwise they'll keep doing it.
Absolutely. Okay. So so just in the specific example,
Yeah.
the boundary I would set is, I'm not after I say goodnight, and we've said goodnight. No matter what you do, unless you're screaming bloody murder, and I think you're like in trouble, I'm not going to come in, and I'm prepared for days or weeks or months of you trying this before you realize I'm really just not going to come. And I will try to supplement you with attention during the day or other times, and say like, maybe there's a way that I can pay more attention to you another time, or maybe we need to do something else together that's going to satisfy whatever this need is. But also, we don't always get what we want, and we don't even always get what we need. So at some point, you're just going to be upset.
Yeah,
and
I
I'm
understand
not
all
gonna
this.
be able
Okay,
to-
yeah, I was just kind of curious if you thought it would
Right.
be abusive to determine.
But that's different from you're not allowed to cry. That's so another thing is, I think when I say boundaries should be set with love, you're setting the boundary of, this is the limit
Well,
of my
fuck yeah, it's a little bit
participation.
different because the parent-child, it doesn't work here because you can't just dump your kid because you're tired, like you could like within a relationship, right?
No. I'm not even talking. Yeah, but I'm not talking about dumping the kid or dumping the Shaylin. I'm saying that you're saying I love you, but and it doesn't mean I don't love you if I don't come when you are doing this thing. But I just don't think this is a good dynamic for us, so I'm not going to be able to do this. That is totally different from, if you keep doing this, we're canceling our movie tomorrow. We're not going to go to the movies. No breakfast, no dinner, no hugs, no love, which is more what the abuser was suggesting on the call. Is I'm going to start taking things away from you in order to force you to comply. That's not, while it is structured like a boundary, it's not really a boundary. It's coercion. And I think that when you're setting a boundary with somebody, you need to give them two choices, and the choices both need to be like kind of like loving. It can't be, if you keep crying in your office, then I'm going to like hurt you emotionally somehow. I think doing it in the first place is weird, but even if you were going to set that boundary, I think it would need to be more like, if you cry in your office, then I'm going to need to leave the house to get away from it.
Is that okay, or would you consider that abusive?
If it's for a reasonable amount of time, I think it's okay to be like I'm just letting you know that I have to protect myself from this. I think that you're being too loud. So we need to put in soundproofing or something. Or you need to wear headphones, or I need to wear headphones, or you need a pillow to scream into. We need to find a way so that you can, do whatever emotional expression you need to do, but where it's not impacting me.
Okay, gotcha.
And I have asked Shaylin in the past. I've said, like, are you willing to be less loud? Like, you're aware that if you cry like that it is coming into the other space, and that I am listening to you cry, right? So it's a weird thing where you're in your office, but you're also not in your office. But to me, that's like an area where you just want to like talk about it and negotiate about it, rather than be like, I have a right to coerce you into silence in your own fucking office.
Okay. All right. Are you ready?
Yeah.
Are you sure?
Yes. Are you kidding me? I'm an expert. I know exactly how to handle someone like this.
Okay. Good luck.
Thank you.
Hello.
Hey.
We've returned.
Oh, why is this not? Something is going fucky. Can you hear me?
We can hear you
Yeah.
loud and clear. Can you hear us?
Yeah, I can.
Okay. I'm curious how much you two actually agree on or disagree on.
Are you actually curious? Because I feel like because I already clarified it to you.
Well, yeah, but obviously you both clarify. Are you abusing me now? Why the fuck? I'm the
Yes.
moderator here, okay? I'm not the one to fight
Yes.
with. You don't want to get on my bad side, okay? Or you're going to be triple fucked for this conversation like you've never been
right.
before. So
Yeah.
slow down.
Steven,
Sorry.
this is good.
Okay.
I'm really proud of you.
Thank you.
Oh my god.
Okay.
Good job.
Wait, I want to recenter on this idea of
Yeah.
Okay, so I heard what you were just saying, Max.
Yeah.
And I
No, Steven's moderating.
Oh my
You don't-
God.
Yeah, but
no,
if
no,
Roy,
you don't
Let
just.
me talk.
wait,
You
okay, wait, hold on, wait, you
monologued for
wait,
It's
50
already
wait.
happening, man.
Hold on, wait,
You can't
everybody
let her
calm
do
down.
this.
Okay, everybody calm
I'm
down.
calm. I just want to talk.
Well,
I
yeah,
just
that's
want to
You're
be
great.
not
able to
calm.
speak.
Oh, you're calm.
Stop.
You're not calm.
Everybody stop.
Okay.
Okay. I am the moderator. If I talk, then you guys need to chill. Okay.
Okay.
All right. Now, you had something you wanted to bring up. Flowerhead girl. What do you want to be called in this conversation?
Me?
Unless you
Just
think
laugh.
Lav. Okay. Lav. Go ahead. Bring up what you wanted to bring up.
So I watched what you were saying, Max, and I feel like you mischaracterized me yesterday in the way that I think you were maybe you were being uncharitable for attention, or maybe you actually thought I was saying this, that you should emotionally withhold from your partner as punishment if they don't do what you ask them to do. And that is not what I meant. And then I tried to clarify, and you said, "Oh, you can change it now."
Okay, wait, hold on. I'm gonna request this. So now that we're all talking here, we have the ability to say what we meant. So rather than accusing people of saying, "Why did you mischaracterize that?" Just say, like, we can just talk what we meant, and then we don't have to worry about like if anybody misunderstood anybody or anything. So can you give me in your clear words, what did you mean when you went about this withholding thing? And then Max, respond with what your issues with it were or are. Yeah.
I meant that when you feel yourself getting emotionally dysregulated by something that Shaylin does, regardless of it really has nothing to do with Shaylin, honestly. It has more to do with you, is what I was getting at. Is when you feel yourself becoming emotionally dysregulated and you're going to do something like call her a bitch or call her a demon or make her cry, whatever, that you should probably
Make her
acknowledge
cry?
what you're feeling. Oh, geez.
Wait, I can't
You should-
control whether she cried. What does that mean?
No, of course you
I
can't.
understand.
No,
Call her a
if
bitch,
you
call her a
say- if
demon.
you-
Those are
if
things
you-
I control.
sure.
Those are actions I take.
walk
But
it back.
making someone
Okay.
else cry is not really.
Okay, I'll walk it
An
back
action.
so you
Okay.
don't just strawman me, but I'll walk it back. I'll walk it back.
I'm not strawmanning you to just literally say back to you what you just said. Continue.
Okay.
When she okay, hold on, Lav. When you said make her cry, you didn't necessarily mean anything that would
Force
make her
her-
cry.
no.
You mean doing a behavior that is going to be upsetting, obviously.
Yeah,
Is it? Yes.
of course.
Okay. All right.
Yes.
Okay.
That instead of doing that, you can self-regulate and decide to take a walk, create emotional and physical distance, like going out for the night, shooting some hoops, just doing something that is away from that conversation until you can come back and not re-trigger each other consistently. So it's a conversation that actually has health.
Okay. So
All right. Go ahead. So Max,
have-
she's saying that when
Yes.
when you feel like you might be emotionally dysregulated, step back, re-regulate, re-engage, go.
Okay. So from the point of view of the other person in the relationship, and maybe an outsider, depending on how things go, it could go either way. It could feel like, yes, you're not emotionally. I did something that made you upset, and now you're not emotionally available, and now you're going to go out for the night. Now, that might mean you're going to do self-care, and this makes sense, and I'll do self-care for myself, or it also might feel like you're abandoning me. You
Okay,
are
but-
cold. Well, no, let me finish.
Okay.
Let me fucking finish. Okay. So it
go
could
ahead.
feel like you're withdrawing from me to try to control my behavior.
I don't
You
care
don't
what it
like
feels
what
like.
I
Whoa,
did.
whoa. Let
I
Max
know.
finish.
Well, let me
That's okay. Yeah,
let
go
me
ahead.
just let me
Finish.
just
Yeah.
I just want to finish.
Go ahead.
Okay. So it could feel like I did something you don't like. When I do something you don't like, you withdraw from me, and to create this Pavlovian training situation.
No, it's not a
Where-
Whoa! We gotta let Max
Oh.
finish. Just let him finish.
You guys
It's
don't
okay.
let me finish. It's going to be really quick
Okay,
if
sorry.
you just let me
Okay. Yeah,
finish.
go ahead. Let him finish. Okay.
Okay. So it could feel to me, in this case, the hypothetical abuse victim, that that you're doing this Pavlovian trick to make it so that I don't do things that upset you. If I do something that upsets you, you go out for the night. You're out shooting hoops all night. And your narrative for yourself that, oh, I'm just doing self-care. I go shoot hoops because it's part of my self-care. And my therapist said that this is what I should do when I get dysregulated, actually doesn't really have that much of an effect on how on me. To me, whatever story you're telling yourself, you can pat yourself. Most people who are emotionally neglectful are not saying like, you know what, I don't like what you just did, so I'm going to teach you a fucking lesson. I'm going to shut down and I'm going to go out for the night and shoot hoops. And every fucking basket I make is going to get me a little closer to getting what I want, because I know that you're going to be sitting there feeling abandoned and alone and miserable. When I come back, you're going to fucking do what I say this time. Most people don't think of themselves that way. Most people don't fucking think of themselves that way. They don't think of themselves.
Finish.
Yeah,
go ahead.
I'm almost done. I'm so close. I'm getting there. Okay, so most people don't define themselves that way. Most people define themselves innocuously as taking care of themselves. So it's important when you're kind of navigating these murky, potentially abusive waters that you not let your definition of yourself and your definition of the other person and what both of you are feeling and both of you are doing override everything. So that is why, even if you think you're just regulating yourself, it is also possible that you are engaging in this abusive pattern where you withdraw emotionally and physically every time your partner does something you don't like. And maybe instead you should learn to emotionally regulate without withdrawing. I'm not saying no one should ever take space. I'm not saying every time somebody takes space that they're doing this, but you did proceed giving this example by saying that you would never date a man who cries. And I know that was a joke, but it was also I felt like also a bit of a smokescreen. You also said that I am training Shaylin, or that I should train Shaylin, and that you train your boyfriend. So this is all in the context of us as manipulative trainers.
Okay.
So given that context, that's
So
okay.
I get
Lav.
that.
Okay.
Can I respond?
Go ahead.
So I agree with everything you're saying. I think that you can definitely weaponize time away, obviously.
Okay.
That was not what I was telling you to do. And, you know, if you're someone who thinks that you can emotionally regulate without space, that's good on you. Obviously, me, as someone who's not in your relationship, could not see that from the video. What it looked like is there was no time in between, and you didn't regulate, you didn't self-assess before just going back in, and she cried, and it was a pretty unproductive conversation from an outside perspective. I also think that you added
Can you define?
I let you talk.
Whoa!
Could you define productive? Can you define productive?
Okay, go ahead. Define productive.
First I'm gonna finish what I was saying, and then I will define.
I think you should define productive before you.
I don't care what you think.
You had a big
I like this
5 minute
gish galloping idea.
We're not gish galloping.
I know, but I didn't say things that didn't mean anything in the middle of it.
So I will just say once that I think you added so much subtext because I was vulnerable with you, which I didn't appreciate. It felt like I shared something with you that I guess maybe that was an expectation. Like I thought that you would honor it because I felt like you could respect me. But then you like used it against me, which I thought was really strange. So I just want to tell you that I'm that rubbed me really the wrong way, and then I was on the defensive for the rest of it, and then I didn't know what to do. But what am I defining for you again?
What do you when you say a productive conversation?
A conversation that I guess emotionally validates you and your partner to the point where you feel like something has been, like you feel like you can move on and not go back to the conversation feeling like you could have done something different.
Is that a satisfactory definition for you, Max?
Sure, but I guess that wasn't what I was trying to get out of the conversation. So while it may...
You were trying to get something very different than I was, clearly.
I was talking about my conversation.
Humiliate me.
Well, we can talk about that in a second. But I'm talking about the conversation with Shaylin. You said my doll negotiation with Shaylin was not productive. I think it was productive because I got exactly what I wanted. I got what I wanted from the conversation.
That's a little manipulative.
To say
that
outright,
you went into it getting
to
what
say,
you...
Wait,
outright.
Chill. Okay, everybody hold on, chill. Okay, now, she said that that's a bit manipulative, Max. What do you think about that?
I don't think it's manipulative to say what I want from a conversation. To spend the entire conversation describing what I'm doing to try to get what I want, and having
you didn't stop the conversation until you got what you want.
To have a ceaseless
regardless of how she
unrelenting
felt.
Wait, hold on. Let's let
to
Max
have
finish.
it to have a ceaseless, unrelenting meta conversation about what is happening in the conversation, in which I describe every single thing that I'm thinking and seeing as fast as I possibly can in real time, and then like that. I don't see that's manipulative. That's the opposite of manipulative.
I don't think that most people would see it that way.
Oh, well, if most people think something, then we should agree with them. Is that right?
No, I'm just giving you a little bit of perspective because it feels like you oftentimes maybe need a little.
Oh.
It was a little aggressive.
Well, I'm sorry that I can be as aggressive as he's aggressive to me.
I feel like you're slightly more aggressive right now.
Okay, I'm sorry if
Okay.
that's true.
You're at like a 6 and he's at like a 4, I think.
Okay, I'll go to a 4.5.
Okay. Bring it up a little, Max. We're good.
Okay, I'll meet you there. So, yeah, so I guess to answer your aside, no, I don't think it's my job to, and here's the problem with it. I think this is an inherently kind of coercive and abusive setup that you're implying here, where you're saying I should monitor Shaylin's emotions.
No, I didn't say
And-
that. And I
Well,
don't even
let
want
me
to
let him finish. Yeah, let him
okay, here's what you did say. You said that I didn't end the conversation until I got what I wanted, regardless
Which
of
is
how
true.
she was feeling. Yes,
Which
that's
is
true.
true.
Now, this raises a couple questions. Why would I end a conversation in which I'm asking for something before I get what I want? Well, there's only a couple
Because you
reasons
see
I
your
can think of to-
partner is emotionally dysregulated and you don't want to harm
Yes.
them.
Good. Okay, so this is why I'm saying that you seem to think it's my job to determine whether Shaylin is emotionally fit to
Do you think
have
it's
a
your job
conversation
to
with
just
me.
keep triggering her until she gives in? Is that your job?
I don't think you're really responding to the thing I'm saying. It
Can
sounds like
you
you are,
respond to
but
my
you're actually not.
question? Because
No,
I want
I want you to respond to my.
No,
I
I
want you
want
to
to know
respond.
your framework so that I can respond.
Here,
Well, this
here's,
isn't.
can I
This
ask,
isn't. You're,
let's ask, I can ask
so
both
you're
of
not
you.
asking a real question.
Well, hold on, wait,
Yeah,
I'm
sure.
asking both of you.
Yes, I
Okay, wait,
am.
so here's the framing we've been given, okay? If one partner is becoming emotionally dysregulated and you have a pursuer, oh my God, there's a name for this type of engagement. It's a pursuer withdrawer, but there's a different name for the withdrawer. But somebody is constantly pursuing, somebody's constantly withdrawing. It sounds like Lav is saying if you are the pursuer, then you need to acknowledge that you were pursuing and stop. And Max is trying to say that if you are the
Maybe not even stop.
withdrawer, that it's your job to say to the pursuer you need to stop. It sounds like that's kind of what you guys are.
Well, so even in our conversation yesterday, Max said that he doesn't
Wait,
want
hold
to
on. We don't care about
hear.
we don't care what was said yesterday. Today is a whole new
You're-
day. Yeah.
I think
Okay.
Lav, I think you're smuggling in a premise here that I don't agree with, which is
Okay.
that the conversation should have stopped. That one of us should
No.
have stopped it.
Not
Okay.
even necessarily.
Well, not necessarily. You say that, but a couple seconds ago you said, but you didn't stop it no matter what. And so clearly, when you say that, you're actually
Well, you
implying
were
that it
calling
should
her
have
a
been.
bitch. You were saying you were
I know-
clearly emotionally unregulated. So it didn't
I don't.
it didn't make
Did
her
I? Well, okay, so now we're smuggling in a new thing. So I would like to finish the first thing that I think you're
Okay,
smuggling
go
in,
ahead.
and then I want to explain this one. And then,
What is
and then
smuggling?
you can respond. It's when you ask. It's when you say something that has a huge implication for the conversation, but I don't agree with it.
I think
And
you
then-
are really being really uncharitable with every interpretation of me.
I
And it is
think
very
that you are
odd.
a manipulative abuser. And I want you to
and
remember
I'm
that I
tell-
think
you're
that
not-
for the
and
rest of
you're-
this conversation.
Great, and you're wrong. You're wrong.
That's fine. And I will remember that you think that I'm wrong. So anyway, the thing that you smuggled in just now is when you implied that the conversation should have been stopped. By saying you didn't stop, you will stop it. You wouldn't stop it no matter what. Clearly, that implies the conversation should have been stopped. And all that means is that Shaylin got so upset that you wanted the conversation to stop.
No.
And you think it should have been stopped. And that's fine
No.
if you think that. But I think
I
that we
don't.
should acknowledge. Okay, that's fine if you are
I
saying
think
you don't
that
think
I think that you
That's,
should
I
have
want to. I
stopped.
want to finish what I'm saying.
Okay, let's
I want to finish what I'm
clarify.
saying. And I also have to.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, hold on. Lav, you need to stop interrupting. Max, you need to get the fucking point, okay? That's both of your assignments for this, okay? Max, you should be able to say any point in less than 15 minutes. Lav, you should be able to let him talk for more than 10 seconds without interrupting, okay?
I'm sorry. I'm so angry.
Good.
I want to
be angry. That's fine, but we need to wait our turns, okay? All right, Max.
So when you say you wouldn't stop no matter what, that clearly implies that it should have been stopped. Why should it have been stopped? Well, you've given two reasons. One is Shaylin's emotional dysregulation, and the other is mine. You're saying that I should have stopped it or she should have stopped it. Steven, you're giving this withdrawer pursuer dynamic thing, and you're saying the pursuer should stop pursuing once he sees the withdrawer is getting that upset, or that more is it the withdrawer's responsibility. I'm saying, what if it's just a fight and it was nobody's responsibility because nothing that fucking bad happened? Maybe just people can't stand watching two people get upset. Except, is it really two people? You keep saying that I was the one
abuser,
who...
or do I like?
Whoa! Let him finish.
Like, I'm.
Except, is it really? I'm going as fast as possible.
I know you're good. Yeah, keep going. Okay.
Except, is it really two people who were upset and dysregulated? You said I called her a bitch, but I didn't call her a bitch in that conversation. I called her a bitch.
You did.
Well, I don't think I did. I'm pretty sure I've watched it more times than anybody. But I don't remember calling her a bitch. In fact, I don't even really remember getting angry at all. I think there's one. I called her a demon like a week later. I coined the term demon a week later. But in that conversation, I did call her a monster at one point in the conversation. I had a flare of anger, and I lashed out, and that lasted about 5 seconds before I did regulate myself. For the rest of the conversation, I'm not angry at her at all. I wasn't angry. I literally didn't get angry at any point throughout the conversation.
Okay.
So to say. It's, I mean, this is my experience. Maybe you think I was.
Do you think that I'm calling?
Let me just finish. This is the last thing. The last thing.
Wrap it the fuck up.
Maybe you think I was enraged. My experience was that I was not angry at all. I think I felt pretty good for most of the conversation. I was enjoying holding my boundaries. I was enjoying telling Shaylin to hold her boundaries. I was enjoying my orange. I had a great time. I could see that she was agreeing to my sex plan, and I was like, it's going to be so fucking fun. I'm excited about that.
Wrap it up. Bring it to the end. Good time.
I didn't. Not only was I not dysregulated, I didn't even get angry.
Okay. Laugh.
Okay.
Yeah, I hope that you don't think that I went into that conversation being like, you're an abuser. I just had like some notes. I don't even really remember how we got there, but I feel like
anything
I feel like you forced me to give you feedback on this when I actually think that you did the interaction pretty okay. Like I don't think that you were abusive.
Well, then why'd you say I stopped no matter what?
Whoa, is this Max interrupting now? What's happening?
Well, why did you say that? If you don't think that,
no, this is what I mean. Where I felt like we were just having a conversation like through each other.
You just said I didn't handle it well, and now you're saying that you do think I handled it well.
I think that you handled it.
So which is it?
Well,
why don't you give your official statement?
I think that you probably could have handled it better. Do you think that there's no way that you could have handled that even better in a way that it didn't, make your partner feel like she had to, or didn't, where Shaylin didn't get emotionally dysregulated?
Me saying I think the conversation went pretty well and was not at the point where one of us should have stopped.
But do you think she went?
Emotional dysregulation is not the same as me saying that I think it could not have possibly gone better.
Do you think she thought it went well? Because there's two people in this relationship, Max.
Okay. Are we? You're not responding to anything I just said. So do you want to?
Wait, hold on. Wait.
Are you starting a new topic?
Wait. It sounds like she's asking. Was there any better way you could have approached the conversation? Yeah. Yes. Loud. Hello. Loud. Are you there?
Yeah. I'm here. Sorry.
Is there? It sounds like you're asking him, was there a better way that he could have approached the conversation?
Yes, and also I asked if Shaylin thought that it was a productive conversation, because I think that Max is putting a lot of like, I thought that I did this so well. But there's more than one person in your relationship, and there's more than one person with emotional needs.
Okay. So
even
Max,
though it's not your responsibility,
I think it's a bit.
Yeah.
Okay. So Max, do you think you could have done anything better in that conversation?
I don't think you should. I think you're Steven.
What? Yeah.
I think you're allowing her to not respond to anything I just said.
Wait, what response are you
I'll
looking for?
respond after.
Hold
I'll
on, no, wait.
respond right after.
What response were you specifically looking for?
About the smuggling in of premises, where
Well,
I
I think
said you implied.
Or go ahead.
I said, I think you implied that the conversation should have been stopped. Then she said, no, I think you actually handled it pretty well.
And I clarified. I said, that's not what I meant.
Well, it's fine if you...
I already engaged. So I can't engage with something that you
yes,
I did because I didn't do it.
Okay.
Okay, let's see if I can rephrase what she said before. It sounds like what she meant to say, if she was slightly older and more articulate, she would have said there were points in that conversation where you probably could have stopped it to the benefit of both of you. Not that you absolutely needed to, maybe is what...
well, that seems like an important disagreement that we have, where I don't think that's true. So my tolerance for people being upset, Shaylin and myself, it seems to be higher than you seem to think it should be. And
no,
so what?
No. You're trying to make me this like nameless, faceless.
Just respond.
I understand
instead of saying what I'm doing.
Just
respond.
By everyone else.
Just respond. Do you think I should have?
You're not responding with anything I'm giving you. You're placing intention on me. You're putting words in my mouth.
Okay.
It's impossible.
I think you're being really evasive. But if you want to control the next exchange, what would you like it to be about? What do you want to talk about?
Do you think? You are really projecting onto me this like control freak image, and I've tried to let it go.
Okay. If you're not going to answer my question, you know what I think is a little slippery, and Steven, I think you're letting her get away with this.
Hold on,
she and I are having a disagreement about how my doll conversation went, right? And so she says.
We're not even really disagreeing, but you really think that I'm disagreeing with you, though, and I've just told you I don't even necessarily disagree with you. And then we got to the point where...
She's saying one thing, and I'm saying another thing. I don't know what she's saying, and you can clarify your stance again, Lav, if you want. And I'm saying another thing, and then she switches to, well, what does Shaylin think?
Well, no, Shaylin was the second question she was asking. So I think what's happening
I know, but it's not really relevant.
Yes, it is. It's relevant because you're in a relationship with another human being.
So it seems like if I'm broadly understanding her concern, it's that if I couple the what did Shaylin think with the was it a productive conversation, with the it's a two-person relationship, et cetera, and was it like do you have a responsibility to make the conversation go better? It seems like she's broadly concerned with both sides of the equation. But it sounds like from your point of view, you're saying things like, well, I got what I wanted out of it. I'm not really concerned what Shaylin thinks about this particular thing, and you're just not okay with seeing people being uncomfortable. The disagreement between you two is how much responsibility do you alone have for avoiding or mitigating hurt feelings or tears or whatever during a conflict.
And Max thinks not.
Sure.
Max is broadly saying that, listen, people fight. That's relationships, you know? Sometimes people cry, and I think that you're uncomfortable with that, and that's not fair. And it sounds like Lav is saying, yeah, people can get upset, but the responsibility is on both parties to make sure that like somebody's not literally drilling the fuck out of somebody else when they're being emotionally dysregulated. So this is where you both are.
Yes, but beyond just saying that it's Shaylin's responsibility to hold her own boundaries, I'm saying it is abusive to take that role away from her and decide for her whether or not. And so there's a certain point at which you should do that. I completely agree. If somebody becomes a shivering, unresponsive mess on the floor and pees their pants, at a certain point,
that's so extreme. Why can't you just see that your partner is crying? Clearly
I want you to let me finish what
I'm
saying, Lav. I want you to let me finish what I'm saying.
So that you don't have to answer my question? That makes sense.
Okay, just write your question down and save it for when he finishes, and then you can answer his question. And then
write your question down, and then you can say something else.
Don't echo what he's saying. Don't echo what he's saying.
I'm making fun of you. I'm changing what he said to be something meaner. Okay.
I know.
Yes. So I'm going to finish what I'm saying, despite your...
Okay, just finish what you're saying. Stop attacking each other. Go.
Okay. He's attacking me.
No, you're
Steven,
both.
help.
Everyone, all of you are attacking each other. Go.
I think that, yes, we're saying that we have a disagreement over at what point the pursuer, the person pursuing the conversation, should stop the conversation on the behalf of the other person and say, hey, you know what, I don't think you can handle this anymore. So I'm not willing to continue the conversation about the question I'm asking. You're not saying you want to stop, but I'm not going to ask you this question anymore because you're too upset. And what I'm saying is that that's a double-edged sword. It may look like a really nice thing that you're doing by stopping the other person from being upset. The problem with it is that I also think that you are not that tolerant of other people's emotions. And one way to be intolerant of other people's emotions is to overly placate them and not be willing to have a conversation in which there is room for them to be upset by doing things like saying, well, if you're going to start crying, then I'm not going to ask you this question anymore.
You added so much subtext though. Like that's not who I am and that's not what I think.
Okay, wait, Lav. Okay, I'm gonna translate. Okay, so
please.
What he's saying is that, let's say you've got two people that are having a conversation, okay? And when the other person starts to get upset, you're saying that ideally, if you see your partner's getting upset, you're gonna say, hey, listen, partner, I think that you're getting a little bit upset. I'm gonna take a moment. We can both take a breather.
No, not even that.
Wait,
not even that, because I feel like
absolutely what you're saying.
No. Okay. Well, let me clarify. Is that I think that
So
there are
satisfying.
Stop.
I love it.
There are certain cues in your partner that would probably make a normal person be like, oof.
Yeah, hold on. Wait, you're restating what I'm saying, but you're like scared to agree with me. That's exactly what I'm saying. I'm saying you're talking to your partner, you notice that they're getting like visibly upset, so whatever you just said is happening. You're starting to get something, and you're saying, okay,
sure,
hey, we're going to...
I think I should add that I also think that, like, I agree with Max when he said that that's a slippery slope.
Well, then what is your disagreement?
I've been saying that I really do agree with a lot of what he says. I think I said this and he was like, well, that could be abusive, and I know that. Well,
if it could be abusive, why suggest
I'm just
it?
hoping.
Do you think that...
Well, no, because you can make it not. I feel like he's smart enough to make it not abusive, right?
Okay,
like,
draw the line then for us. What's the difference between
intentions.
it being abusive and being not abusive?
Well, it depends on, I guess, your intent.
No.
If you really cannot see,
No.
if you really cannot see the conversation going anywhere, and you can see that you are hurting your partner's feelings and that it's not productive, or that you don't feel like your point is getting put across, it feels it feels like you could just be like, oh fuck, I should come back to this later. I should come back to this later. Not even like you should come back to this later, because that's infantilization. I don't think we should do that, especially with women. But I do think that you should, in yourself. No, I don't.
Whoa, Max! No. Are you cutting Lav off? Okay, Lav, finish your statement. Go
I would like to respond.
Sure, after she wraps it up.
That was it.
Okay, she's wrapped it up. Go ahead, Max.
I think that it's kind of scary when you say that your intent defines whether it's abuse or not.
Sure, but I think
I don't think that that's. I think that you're pinning me in this place because I know what you're trying to do. I know the implications of that, but it's a bunch of things. It's intent. It's your actions. It's like a conglomeracy of everything. Like, it's not. I think that we can.
That's not a conglomeracy. That's two things.
Well, I give you two examples. I think it's a bunch of things.
Oh, and I have 10 more. I'm just not saying them right now. I could. You want to sit here all day and name examples? I mean, come on, bro. Like, what? We don't have time for that. I'm going to sit here and name 10 million examples. We'll all be skeletons by the time I'm done.
Max, why do you talk to me like this?
Why don't you finish your fucking examples?
Well, no, I feel like we agree. I will say
I got a whole bunch. I feel like we agree. I feel like we're on the same page about the other 10 million. No. Intent, actions. What else, Lav? What else do we have? Read the whole list.
I'm not going to. I let you do this to me yesterday, and I'm not going to let you do it again. I want to know. I want to know why you speak to me.
You know what I want to know. I'm gonna listen to the sound of my binder of all my examples dropping to the floor. Flump. I'm gonna put that down. And you know what I want to know. I've got a question for you, buddy. I got a question for you.
Help.
I'm just listening. You guys duke it out. I can tell you what's happening. If you want to know what's happening, I'll tell you. But I'll let you guys fight for a few more minutes.
I want to know what is going on.
Well, I had something I want to say.
I'm not done.
So
because I'm this conversation feels like it's kind of hit its whatever. But
why is Abba and Preach in the chat? Why do they keep talking shit about me? I don't know these motherfuckers.
Why are you looking at chat, Max?
Stop looking at chat.
Because I want to know.
Because I knew that you were doing yesterday too. You were doing this during our call, and you were emboldened by it, and it was horrifying. But I also wanted to directly.
You know what? I have something I want to say. He just told you to let me finish.
No,
he just told you to fucking let me finish. Steven, help me out.
No,
Bubby,
he didn't.
Help me out here, buddy.
He was tuning out.
Okay, can I?
What did you just say?
Can I?
I'm gonna unmute. Okay. I have to unmute your stream to hear what you said.
No, can I just? No, I'm not talking about you guys.
He was tuning out.
Okay, can I? Stop.
Yeah, you just
Can I?
I'm gonna mute.
Stop.
Okay.
Max
Every
is being
time I see the
baby
mute
right
go up,
now. No.
I'm playing your stream into my microphone.
Okay, can I tell you?
That's my boundary.
Can I tell
Yeah,
you
go
what's
ahead.
happening here? Are you both ready? I'm about to give a scathing review to both of you. Okay, I'm gonna try to.
Yeah,
burn.
I still would like to finish what I
Oh,
was
okay,
saying,
never mind. Let
but
Max
yeah.
finish. Go ahead, Max can finish. Go.
Okay.
I
So I just wanted to say, well, he's the moderator.
Oh yeah.
Max
it's
can
a-
finish, and then
wait.
Lav can respond, and then we'll see.
Wait,
Go ahead.
He just said something.
No,
What
I
did he say?
didn't. I just muted to see if you'd fuck around. You're wasting time. Okay, Max.
for being baby.
Max, say your piece, and then Lav will respond, and then
okay.
I will
Okay,
define
okay,
the
all right.
conversation
I just
with both of
hey,
you. Yeah,
hey, I just
go.
want to hear what you. I still want to miss any of the stream.
Okay.
Okay. So the last thing I wanted to say was, yeah, intent. So when you say intent, you know what's scary about that, and not whatever the other examples you had, all the other.
Everything you're gonna say, I'm gonna agree with.
That's fine. Then let
Okay,
him
great.
say it.
Good. So the rest of the conglomeracy, I'm saying I'm not that concerned with, but intent is very concerning because when you are writing the narrative of yourself, of like what you're doing and who you are, you leave the door wide open for abuse. And so if you're, the implication being, if I convince myself I'm shutting down the conversation, oh, it's for your good. I'm not being a controlling, abusive fuck who can't stand my girlfriend expressing her feelings to me. I'm being a good caretaker. I'm not installing myself in this position of power as her parent and the author of her internal narrative and the regulator of all of her emotions. I'm
I think you're
being
more
a nice
self-aware than
guy.
that. I think you're more self-aware than that.
No, no one is more self.
You're not?
No one is self-aware enough to decide
Okay,
whether
you're
they're an
wrong.
abuser. Absolutely
Not
not.
to decide whether or not an abuser, but to understand that their actions have
No,
consequences.
you can never understand.
That is the dumbest
when
thing
you
I've
are making
ever
a
fucking heard.
Oh, then let me say in something even dumber. You can never know when you are making a power grab for good or for abusive reasons. And
You're
you
right, that
cannot
was
rely
significantly dumber.
you cannot rely on your own fantasies about what kind of person you are to
I agree with
dictate the controlling behavior you allow
Sure,
yourself
but
to
most
engage
people
in.
live in reality. Maybe you don't. Maybe that's why you're like, nobody can live in reality. But I'm telling you that maybe a lot of people do.
No, everybody's got a blind spot.
Okay, anyway,
Okay.
I agree with what you're saying. I do want to actually, before we go anywhere else, I did want to apologize to you because I feel like when I was rewatching that conversation, I did very unnecessarily trigger you when talking about your mom, and I really did not mean to.
You're doing it
And
again right now.
no, well, no, I'm okay. Well, I'm sorry, but I needed to tell you
You're just
that
totally changing the subject and bringing up my mother again. Why do you
I'm
think you're doing that? Oh, your
because-
narrative of yourself is your intent. Let's hear about your intent. Because you know what? I don't believe your intent. I don't believe your story about yourself. This is why I started the conversation by telling you that I think you're a
Can you let
fucking
me
abuser.
finish?
And I still think you're an abuser. And right now you're going
Lav
to say...
should get to
Oh,
respond.
yeah.
Lav should get to
Yeah,
respond.
go ahead.
Max, you got to have your piece. Yeah.
Yeah, tell your intent.
I wanted
What's your
to
intent?
apologize to you because I genuinely feel like that hurt you, and I didn't mean to do that. And so if
Oh.
I know that it did do that, so I am sorry that it did that.
Yeah.
If I could go back and rephrase, like, I feel like you are treating me this way because you have an inherent bias towards me because you see me as someone who is maybe a past relationship or a mother, or I embody
Wait, that's
that,
just the
and it makes you
same. That's the
upset.
exact same thing.
Sure, but I
Max,
think
are
it
you cutting her
cushions
off?
it. I think
No,
it
I'll
also
stop.
it
You go
it
ahead.
cushions it, and it makes it less so. It came off so aggressive that it felt like I was trying to get you, and I didn't want to get you. I just wanted to explain that I felt unheard and that you were being uncharitable, and I felt like it was because of what I represented to you, and that there was nothing I could do to get you to not feel that way about me, and I was feeling powerless. But it came off as very like, oh, and I'm just gonna get this one in here, and I'm sorry that I did that.
Okay.
Well, can I respond?
Go for it.
I think it's even more terrifying and destructive, and this is why I don't want to platform you, and I don't want to send any fans your way because it's even more terrifying and manipulative and abusive and destructive that you're doing the exact same thing again now, but dressing
I'm
it up
not.
as a conciliatory apology.
Because I
Okay.
feel bad that I hurt you. What do
I
you
don't think
are people
I
not
literally
allowed
don't
to
think you
feel-
know yourself or what you're capable of.
Okay, Max, this is like schizophrenic. I'm telling you who I am, and you don't believe me, and that's fine. I can't control what you think about me. But I wanted to make sure that I was making amends with you. One, because it makes me feel good because I I felt like I hurt you, and I that messes with my framework of myself, obviously. And also, it does not
Yeah,
feel
well, I
good to
can
hurt
help clear
someone.
that up for you.
No, I don't, Max. You don't. This is so.
I've got a framework of you that I think kind of incorporates that
You don't.
and
You
this,
don't
and it
know.
all kind of
Off
makes sense.
based off of what? Based off that I told you that you know I find myself in abusive patterns. I have a very similar upbringing to you, extremely similar. I get caught, and
I doubt that.
I have a deep narcissistic wound with my mother. It has informed the way that I act in my relationships. If I don't catch it, it's why I'm in therapy twice a week because I have an irrational fear of becoming an abuser, even if I'm not.
Oh my God! Wow, okay. God forbid that you
Well, can you see that
think
it
that you
also
might
how
be
triggering this is?
abusive.
No, well, no.
I
Of course
do,
I'm
yes,
going.
but I
Of
can't give
course
you
I'm going to.
absolution. Did you
Of
come to
course
me
I'm going
because
to
you
go
thought
into
you
it.
came to me? I see. I'm the guy that if you're an abuser or like a pedophile or whatever, a
No,
racist,
I just
you
wanted.
come to
I just
me and I
wanted you.
say, well,
I
I think you're human. And I say, it's okay.
No, I
It's
saw you
okay
as
to
the guy
be,
that
it's
everyone loves to
okay to
hate.
rape kids because we're all human. And then
No,
that gives
no,
you
I saw you.
absolution. Is that
I
what you
felt like
want from me?
no, I felt like I saw you as I you put up this wall. You think that Destiny does it, but I think that you do it. Where you put up this wall that is like
Oh, he's
just
on
so
mute. Wait, wait a
you like
second.
you will
I'm just listening to the two
overshare.
titans fight. Can I?
Yeah.
You will
Okay, keep going.
overshare. You will overshare so that you can undershare. And it's I resonated with that. And I was like, I'm gonna come on this stream and talk to this guy that has like really helped me deepen my perception of myself and tell him that maybe he's been important to me, but also level with you. And it became something that was so, and then like whatever relationship I had to you, what parasocial relationship I had to you, for you to then like just like dig into this wound of me already thinking I'm an abuser felt so awful. And like I don't even and you keep doing it and I
I
try to
think you're an
characterize
abuser.
myself correctly, and
I
that's
think
fine.
you are consistently abusive. And I think you have an abusive framework. And even when you're like, oh man, I should not be abusive. I should follow
I thought that you
this
were
rule
right.
set I have in my brain for how I won't be abusive. That rule set is also abusive.
I left our conversation believing everything you said because I
Okay.
value your opinion. And
Okay.
so I left and
So
I was like, okay, I am this person. Also, this comes from my relationship with my mother where she just altered my reality to the point where I would just like believe everything everyone says. So I
okay.
internalized it
Yeah.
and was questioning my reality as one
Okay.
does when you think that you're
Yeah.
an abuser and you're scared of it. I went to my
Yes.
fiance. I was like, "Do I abuse you?" And
You
I
went to no,
showed.
you can't ask you're a victim if you're an abuser.
Well, no,
He can't
he
he
listened
can't
to it. He listened to it, and I said, "This conversation made me crazy. Is what is going
No,
on?" And
no,
then
you're asking him to caretake you by reassuring you that you're not an abuser. So now
no,
one
no,
last little
no.
strand of
Assuring me
hope
is not
is
accurate.
taken
No, I was
away. One
accuracy
last little
testing.
strand of hope is taken away from him. I
No,
will
I
tell
was
you, if you,
accuracy testing because
it is,
you
it's
made it so
not
that I
you
can't trust my
you
reality.
cannot
So
ask
I
the
had to
person.
go.
You cannot
Then
ask
who?
your
Then I just go to
gaslighting.
you. Then I just go
You
to you. I
can't.
just ask you
You,
what I'm doing. If
you
my
can't
therapist doesn't
ask.
think I'm
You
abusive,
hey,
if my victim doesn't think
laugh.
I'm abusive, then is it just you?
You can't ask your gaslighting victim if you're abusing them,
I wasn't like,
and
am
then
I
I
remember
and
this.
then
This
abusive
is supposed to
parade
be.
specific?
around their answer as though it's evidence in your favor. It
I
doesn't fucking
didn't. That's
matter
not what
if
I
he
was
thinks you're
saying.
abusive. It
Okay.
doesn't
I
matter.
internalized it regardless of how he felt about it. I still am reeling from our conversation, still scared that that's what I do, even though he told me that it's not. And I think that there's some truth in what you're saying. Obviously,
Yes, what
I
I'm
think
saying
that
is true. It is what you do.
no, but it's not what I do actively. It is my first, maybe it's my
I just
framework. Maybe it's my
passively do
framework,
it.
but I'm
Yes.
trying. No, it's
I
not
know
that
you're
I
not
passively
trying.
do it.
I know you
I
don't
am
want to be an
actively in
abusive
charge.
person. I know
I
you
am
don't want to
actively-
abuse.
Let me talk.
Who
I am
wants to be?
actively in
Okay.
charge of myself.
Yeah.
I'm doing the work. I go to therapy twice a week.
I know.
internalize everything you and my therapist say. I'm trying to be the person that I want to be. I know that my framework is garbage.
Okay.
And I'm accuracy testing. Because it
Don't
seems
do
like
that.
maybe
I don't think you should do that.
no, I think that you're incredibly incorrect when you tell someone not to accuracy test.
The way you're doing it, I don't think is accuracy testing is the
The
problem.
way
because
you
well,
mischaracterized the way I did it.
let's go through a little
and you
decision
fucking
tree.
Tore
Let's
into it.
let's go through a little decision tree.
God.
If
Can
you
you
actually,
Jesus.
if you are abusing your fiance and controlling his thoughts about you via whatever suggestion or withdrawal or coercion,
As you think all
if
women
you-
do.
You have the exact time and place.
Just no, we're talking about you right now. We'll talk
As you-
about the other.
no, but I
We'll
think
talk
it's
about the
important to know
rest.
that
Well, now
you
you're
think this
discrediting me.
about all
Look, do you want to know? Do you want to know what I think?
You've discredited me every single time I fucking say anything.
Do you want to
so
know what I
like-
think or not?
I mean, yes, but I also
Okay, so
Also
that's
no.
fine. Yes, Mr. Girl hates women. That's fine. Whatever. I still think what I think, and I want to share it with you.
Okay.
And so here's what I think.
Can
If
I
it's-
ask you
if-
before you do it? Can you
No.
Can you
Obama.
Okay.
No, I just want
Nice.
to say it. So
Okay.
if we agree that the thing you're accuracy testing for is, do I gaslight my fiance?
Obama.
That wasn't it.
If the answer is yes,
So
Then
no, so
asking your
I don't wanna
fiancé
go
if
on
you
this
gaslight him
conversation. You're taking
doesn't
me down
really
this
make any
pathway, and that's
sense.
not what
These
I was
guys are
doing. So I
just-
don't want to engage with something that I did not do.
These guys are
You're not
just
gonna
Okay.
you're not gonna pin me in this like
okay.
you did yesterday.
Do you understand when I say that when I'm calling you abusive, I'm saying
Obama.
that the
Wow,
way
What about-
I
what
explained,
about-
I explained
105
this
S. Thanks
yesterday.
for giving me 20
Okay.
ter-
I explained this
I really
yesterday, but I'll
want-
explain
Thank
it
you.
again. I'll explain it again.
Thank you.
Okay.
It's a combination of a bunch of things.
Obama.
It's a constellation of it's a conglomeracy, if you will.
You think that me
leads-
accuracy testing
that leads to
is planting
Obama.
seeds of thought?
no, not planting seeds of thought, but
But controlling the
I
narrative.
think your fiance,
narrative.
yes, controlling your fiance's narrative by
Obama.
And you don't think I'm aware
By-
of that with the intensive therapy I'm in. You don't think that I'm
I think
aware
you-
that that is something that
okay.
can happen. And I
the
try to avoid.
mechanics of how you control.
That's
his
why you're supposed to
narrative.
moderate. Listen, this
Are
combo went off the rail.
Slipping in premises
we're just
to
watching
things
it crash
without
and
him
burn
knowing
now,
that you're
okay?
slipping them in, giving yourself like Hitler an
Obama.
excuse for why you need to take power and
As
convincing
a
him that
few, relax.
convincing him to hand you over that power by saying, "Oh, yeah, okay, you're
Obama.
doing this for my own good." Here,
if
you
I was
can-
a lesser
you can-
version of
you can-
myself, I would do that. Sure.
Okay,
I know
well,
that
I do
I'm
think you
capable
do
of
that.
that. I know that I'm
withdrawal,
capable of that. I
Emotional
make sure
withdrawal,
that that is
emotional
not what I do
withdrawal.
because I'm in
emotional
therapy
withdrawal
and I care about my
is-
partner.
I understand. This is just what I think. You know,
We still
that's
on
fine
for
if you
25?
don't.
And I'm
Oh,
telling
please
you
go.
what
Yeah,
you
for
think
sure.
is wrong, and
Obama.
you
You
don't
all
think
you're
you
capable
what
of
you think
moderating?
is
That's fine.
gospel.
Well,
That-
there's a thing that's going on, but I have to wait for them to stop so I can describe it. But
Okay,
I'm
that
just
I've
trying to say a
clarified
list
because
of
it's not
things. I
your
think if
reality.
you don't want to
Obama.
hear them, I don't
Okay.
have to say them.
can I do this? You guys?
Yeah, yeah. You're the moderator.
Yeah, I know.
You were the
Obama.
moderator.
Yeah.
What
you
happened,
guys-
man?
You guys are just off the chain. Okay.
It's like herding cats.
Okay.
Obama.
Who wants it first? Because I got bad
Me.
things to say about both of you.
Me.
Yeah?
Lay it on me. Yeah.
Okay. Listen up. Okay. You are weak, Lav.
Obama.
I know.
Okay. So it sounds like you have concepts in your head and formulations for these things that you have learned from people that you have a decent understanding of, but when you're like hardcore prodded, struggle to
Obama.
defend kind of some of these things that you're
Because of my mother.
Hold on. I don't care. I don't care why. I'm not here to give the why. I'm
I
just
know,
explaining
I
the
know.
what, okay?
I know.
Yeah.
I know that. That's
I can't
true.
do the why unless we're going to talk for days and you're going to let me figure out what the fuck is happening with you, okay? So,
Psychoanalyze me, daddy.
yeah, no. Okay. But so I think that you have an understanding of a lot of what you're talking about, but like when pushed and prodded, it can be hard to defend some of the things you're talking about. So in like a very aggressive, very hardcore conversation, It's easy for you to get kind of like bullied around, I think. Okay.
You know what I think is happening is I think that to Max
man,
I'm
you're
his
just-
mother, and to me he's my mother.
Well, no, I think that you look up to him a lot and you have a lot of respect for him, and you might even see some similarities between
Barely.
the two of you.
That is no longer true.
Your
Okay.
assumption of good faith on her part, everything she's saying, you're just handing her this on a silver platter. You realize that?
Max,
I'm not
will you
handing anybody anything.
relax?
Wait, how could everybody call me a simp for everybody all the time? Stop.
If you like women, instant simp. King
No,
of
I don't even like women. Okay, Jesus. Okay. All right.
That's more
If
like
you
it.
don't,
That's more
demonize
like
women.
it.
Okay. Max,
You're
I'm a
letting him manipulate
demonologist.
just-
I
Max,
study women. I don't make
Max,
them. Okay.
Here's your problem. Okay, you have this uncanny ability to hyper, uncharitably pinpoint, pincer, and destroy any amount of weakness detected whatsoever, uncertainty, in another person's argument. And you're adept enough at maneuvering the arguments in such a way that it actually almost seems obviously that you are the correct one when you're saying things that are so incorrect. So, for instance, the idea that you could formulate this, so if a partner notices someone else is upset, they're going to rob that person of agency and punish them for their emotions by withdrawing in an aggressive manner to show them that if they ever emotionally dysregulate, they're going to be put in in an even more negative state by their partner, essentially stonewalling them. Like, that is an unbelievably ridiculous formulation of saying...
That's a straw man. That's not
No,
what I said.
that
I
is
would like to defend
verbatim.
myself.
Hold
I would
on.
like to.
Literally,
I would like to
no.
respond. I would
You
like
can
to
respond once I'm done,
I'd like
but
to
that is
respond.
verbatim
Okay.
what you said.
You
And
don't
that
get
was
to
in
Well,
response.
let's put
Hold
a-
on.
let's
And that
put
is
a
in
pin in
response.
that.
Well, yeah, you can. I'll get
You
to
don't get to
respond. You'll get to
clarify.
respond. Shut up, Lav. You done. Stop. I'm the moderator, okay?
I'm not weak anymore.
I don't
You don't
ca-
get
yeah,
to clarify,
stop.
Max.
Okay. But I'm just saying that is verbatim what you said. There is literally nothing wrong with saying, like, hey, even this aggressively, hey, I think you're getting really upset. I'm just going to take like an hour step back and then we can revisit this conversation. There is absolutely nothing wrong with that. And I would actually take it one step further. And I would argue that you are abusive, or it is an abusive behavior to say, I'm emotionally dysregulated right now. You're not allowed to leave this conversation because you think that I'm emotionally dysregulated. And by doing so, you're actually being more abusive to me. That is an insane step forward to Darvo that around into making the other person out to be the abuser when they might just say like, hey, I think I should take a step back because it seems like you're getting really upset. Okay, that's my piece. Go ahead.
Okay.
Okay.
I agree that it is abusive to tell somebody that they cannot leave a conversation or take space for themselves when they want to.
Sure. Okay.
I agree with that as well. So I'm not saying one way or the other. I feel like you're oversimplifying this to create the straw man, which is, fine.
Wait.
But I think
can I respond to that
what I was saying-
oversimplifying, and then you can say everything you want, okay? I agree with you that my process could have been oversimplified, but it sounds like what you do is you do two things at once. You introduce, so like somebody will bring up a topic that might be like the number 10. Hold on. And what you'll do is you will immediately expand the nuance of what they said to, it could be anywhere from 5 to 15. And then you say it's 5. That's what you do. So here's a direct example of you doing that. You might say something like, okay, so somebody might say something like,
wait, before you characterize something else.
Hold on, wait. I have like,
can I just finish? Can I respond to the last one you did? And then
No,
because
because this is a direct example, and then you can respond to this and the last thing. Okay, this is a direct example of something you did.
Oh God,
right?
it's like a 2-on-1. I'm arguing.
No,
with
it's not.
two
I
people,
just
but they're both
criticized
you.
her. Okay,
they're
go
both,
ahead.
but they're both you. I'm
No,
arguing
they're
with two
not.
destinies
Okay,
at the
go.
same time.
Okay, so go. Say, respond. What you
Everyone's
want.
telling me that I'm you, so I don't know
No,
who am I.
No one is anybody. We're all each other here. Okay, go ahead, Max. Respond to the other thing you wanted to say. Go ahead.
You said just now that I said that it's abusive to end a conversation because the other person is getting too upset.
Yes, you said it could be. Yeah.
It could be, yes. That's different from saying that it is.
But
And
you
then you
went
act
on
like
that
it-
road,
that's what we
basically
were
acting
I would like
like
to just finish what I'm saying before you both start
man.
talking
Okay.
at the same fucking time.
Sure, that's fine.
Okay.
Now the ultra nuance
So-
is coming back, though. I like this. That's good. If we want to make it more nuanced,
Good.
that's fine. Okay, go ahead.
Great. Okay. Well, I'm glad you feel that way. Okay. So you can imagine a relationship where I don't ever want Shaylin to express herself.
Yeah, of
I don't
course.
like it when Shaylin expresses herself. I don't want to listen to her talk about her feelings. So whenever she talks about her feelings, I do something to fix it. But fix is in quotes because I'm not really fixing anything. All I'm doing is placating her so I don't have to deal with her feelings. And you can imagine that one of the things, and obviously from the way I'm talking about it, I'm very opposed to this idea and this model of relationships.
Yes,
This
because
is
it's
the
in your
this is a-
metaverse.
Lav, shut the fuck up.
Okay,
This is a
shut
very terrifying
Go, Max,
proposition
finish.
for me. Okay, So this is a very terrifying proposition for me. So that's why I'm saying, when you say so innocently, like, oh, why don't you just end the conversation because she's getting clearly dysregulated, I'm saying not that that is inherently abusive. That's the straw man that you're saying. I'm saying you need to consider that there is no simple, easy answer to this.
Okay, and listen,
that
and
is
I'm
a
telling you
double,
that
and I believe I used the phrase double-edged sword.
No, you didn't.
Which
No,
implies,
you didn't.
Which,
You're
well, I
gaslighting.
think I did.
Okay.
Okay.
So, wait, hold on,
I
real
thought
quick.
I did.
If you want to be
let
nuanced,
me say it now.
If you I don't care now because now it doesn't matter. If you want to be nuanced right now, and I think you will be, because I think I have a thorough understanding of these
I think
topics.
I was nuanced before.
Let me just finish. You guys talk so much. Okay, you are being very nuanced now, and I appreciate that. That's good. But it sounded like earlier we were getting into the like, you can't define how good or bad something is based on the intent. And the fact that you even say the intent matters there makes you an abuser because everybody has their own intent in their mind. Like, that's how hard you went.
No,
now you're
no,
saying,
that's-
well,
no,
Okay,
that
let me
is-
explain
wait,
that. Then let me explain that other thing. I'll explain that.
fucking sentence, please.
Oh, Jesus.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, but you're saying what I said.
Yeah, and that because that is what you said. You can go back and play
I
it. and
didn't
maybe-
say that.
You
No.
Okay.
I didn't say that.
Okay, well, it felt to me then, I might be retarded. It felt to me like you were blowing the nuance out to mean anything and then boom, going to the least charitable possible thing, such that somebody saying maybe you can withdraw when things are getting dysregulated becomes that's a form of withdrawing and abusing your partner for expressing an emotion. That's where it felt like the conversation went. Now, maybe it was more nuanced and everybody else just missed that, or I missed it and she missed it and a bunch of people in chat missed it. But it seemed to me that that's what you were doing. But go ahead.
You may have seemed that way, but here's what I was actually saying.
Go for it.
When determining whether your own behavior is abusive, you cannot look to your own intent or your own narrative about yourself to determine whether that is the case. Because it is very possible that you are shutting down your partner because you don't want to deal with their feelings, but telling yourself that it's because they can't handle their own feelings. And so you end up in this dynamic where potentially you, in the guise of helping them self-regulate, are actually just shutting them down and refusing to listen to them talk about their feelings. I'm not saying that every time you take space from a conversation that you're doing that. I'm just saying that that's what it would look like and what it would feel like and what you would tell yourself is. And what you would end up telling yourself is,
I agree that that's possible.
Is a story like, well, my therapist said it was a good idea for me to go take a walk every time the blah, blah,
And
blah.
I agree.
And so I'm doing that for self-care. But so my whole point is not about the individual behavior in the conflict. It's about determining whether or it's about how you are defining these things and the thought process you use to define them. And if you always look to yourself and your own intentions to decide whether you're being abusive, then you will be. Not necessarily then, but 100% you will end up being abusive. And if when somebody says, I think you're abusive, and you say, oh, I asked my abuse victim, according to you, I asked my abuse victim if I'm being abusive, and they said, no, I'm not.
And I had a gun to his head.
Okay,
I
and
said,
you can do this. You can
tell me if I'm abusive.
You can.
It doesn't.
Everything you're saying
is
somewhat valid. I don't necessarily disagree. Well, I do actually, because you can determine if your own behavior is abusive. There is a line of questioning with a third party that can help you figure that out, or with yourself if you really want to be honest.
With a third party, not
or,
with your victim and not with yourself.
Potentially, sure.
I told you my therapist was my third party.
Regardless, all I'm saying is that it feels like if you want to take a more blown out, nuanced look at it now, that's fine. But it feels like earlier, if you feel weakness in the water, you'll start to hone in on these things that somebody will say, like, your intent. Well, you don't know your own intent. And then you completely, throw aside, like, a basic statement like, oh, well, like, maybe you can pull back if your partner is becoming, dysregulated. Oh, well, isn't that abusive? Well, not if you don't intend for it to be abusive. And then it's like,
no, this is bullshit.
She said if you don't intend to be abusive. No. Oh, well, bitch, can't you know that you can't possibly know your own intent if you're and you just and that becomes the hyper fixation for like the next 5 minutes. It's like, holy shit. Like, I don't think she would probably even disagree that
that is
it's probably
bullshit.
Okay, well, sorry, that's what it felt like to me.
It's total bullshit because you're ignoring the context.
Me and Steven are retards?
Wait, what am I ignoring the context of?
The context was that she called into my show and said that she trains her fiance just like I train Shaylin, that we're the same and that we're psychologically training our partners. I said this was disturbing, and I think this is it sounds like
okay. Let's go. Actually, hold on. Let's challenge that. Wait, what do you mean by that's disturbing? What part of that is disturbing?
Every fucking thing she says makes me think she's abusive.
Sure. What part of that? Wait.
But now you're doing the switcheroo.
I'm not doing the switcheroo.
You're doing
I'm just asking you. What part of that is abusive?
Switcheroo.
What part of that is abusive? What you just said, what part of that is abusive?
What I'm saying.
I don't
really
want you to finish it because I'm going to ask you, because no matter what you say, I'm going to ask you the same question. What part of that is abusive?
That's fine. I'm not. It's not just for you. I just want to hear myself say.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, you're doing a switcheroo where, yes, it's a constellation of behaviors that I think add up to abuse. So then I'm saying I already have the sense that she's abusive. I called her abusive before she got on the call. She got on the call and I called her abusive. I called her abusive last night. I think you're abusive. Lav, I think you're abusive. And then when she says something, I'm saying, here's an example of you being abusive. This is an abusive way of thinking. Now, Steven, you're reversing that and saying, oh, so everybody who thinks that way is abusive? No. I'm not. It's like I'm saying that she's like a cat.
Gotcha.
And
okay.
I'm saying, look, she has a tail, and you're like, everything has a tail as a cat.
I don't need analogies. I'm already like, you're already talking so much, you don't need to throw 15 analogies on the end of it. Jesus Christ. Okay, so back to the very first thing you said. You said that training your partner, that sounds abusive. Why the fuck would you assume that that's abusive?
I think it can be. It can be.
Because it sounded like she was putting herself in this role of power.
Can I tell?
No, you can't tell anything. Go. Okay. Sorry.
Of controlling her partner's behavior with a stick and a carrot, rather than asking for what you want or describing what you want, trying to make your partner behave in a way you want.
Okay, do you acknowledge that in every single relationship, that is what everybody does? You are constantly, in a way, controlling your partner's behavior. That's what a relationship is. Both of you are doing things that is heavily influencing the other person's behavior. And that there are ways to, quote unquote, train your partner that are super fine. For instance, if Melina really likes it when I give her compliments, if every time I say, oh, hey, you're really pretty, she orders me a small hot chocolate, that's a way to, quote unquote, train your partner. There's absolutely nothing abusive about that. Now, there could be abusive forms.
I think you're being a little overly charitable here.
No, I'm not being charitable. What I'm saying.
Let me explain why.
I can't even. I let you finish your whole irrelevant tangent.
Because you're smuggling. You're pre-smuggling something.
I'm not smuggling anything. I'm being so.
I think you absolutely are. No, I think you're fucking smuggling something, and I would like to say what it is.
Okay, go ahead.
You're the moderator, Steven. If you decide if you don't want me to talk, I won't talk. You're muted.
True? Can he decide that?
Yeah. What's he saying?
Am I allowed to? Can I finish my statement? Okay.
Yes.
So, yes. Okay. So the issue is that anything could be met by training your partner. So if I hear, and this is an observation that I made, okay, in that conversation, is that it feels like sometimes you're very quick to key in on the least charitable interpretation instead of just asking a clarifying question. So if somebody says something to me that sounds really sus, let's say I'm talking to a guy or a girl and they're like, yeah, you know, I had a lot of problems and then I started training my partner and now shit works great. So there's two ways I can respond to that. I could do the Max way, where I would go, training your partner is actually a form of abuse and you are the most abusive person ever when you or I could say, hold on, when you say train your partner, like, well, what do you mean by that? Explain that, expand on that. And then, because the problem is, here's what happens. Because I would ask the question and then I would know what they mean. And then I go from there. You would make that narrow assumption. And then somebody like me would come in afterwards and they would go, well, hold on, Max, you're making a very narrow assumption about what training your partner means. And you'd say, well, no, actually, Destiny, you're being narrow by assuming that's not what it's not. I'm actually taking the more nuanced view of it by saying that it could be that thing. And it's like, okay, you're not just saying that it could be that thing though. You're saying it could be, and then you're running with that most, like, the least charitable interpretation of what it could possibly be. If you wanted to be nuanced, you could say, well, training your partner could be bad or it could be good. I need you to explain what you mean by that. But that's not what you do. You take the least charitable interpretation and then you hammer that fucking home, and any divergence from that in your mind becomes like further evidence that the person is actually doing it and they don't even want to engage with the topic. That's what it feels like to me. Okay, go ahead.
Okay. I think that you are, I think it's unfair to me for you, or to my argument, for you to ignore the fact that if you're saying everybody trains everybody, then what do you think it means when she gets on the call and says, I'm just like you? I don't want. No, we're talking about how I interpreted it.
Yeah. Okay. Go.
I'm saying that it's a little unfair for you to say that I should have interpreted her statement of I train my fiance just like you train Shaylin.
No, both of you are right.
Lav, stop. I just need you to shut up.
Just chill.
Okay.
Go.
Obviously, if she's saying that, she's saying I train my partner more than the average person. So it would be hyper charitable and kind of make it seem like these women have you wrapped around their finger if you were to take that statement and say, well, maybe she just means everybody trains everybody. No, that's obviously not what she means.
Wait,
so I'm going to interpret it. I'm going to interpret it in a way where she means she trains her partner in that framing applies to her relationship more than the average relationship.
Before you guys argue what I mean, Can I tell you?
No,
what
we're not arguing about what you
it's
mean.
not
We're
about what you
arguing
mean. It's
whether
about how he
reasonable.
should have. It's how he should have proceeded the conversation. Actually,
no, but I
Okay.
think both of you. I think that what both of you guys are saying.
Lav.
I think that Max, it is valid that you took that from what I said.
Oh,
but also
great.
You're missing
But
the
that,
point.
no,
You're
but I
missing
want to
the
say,
point.
I want to respond. Listen, he just said a whole thing. I got to respond to it real quick. Then you can talk.
Can
Is
you
that cool?
can you stand
Steven,
not
can we get a
listening to
little
yourself
moderation
talk
here?
for like a second?
Can we get a little
Can I-
moderation here, buddy?
I'm just watching. You
Can I
guys
just
fight it
clarify
out. Okay,
what I
Lav,
said?
go
Yeah, you're
real
just
quick.
watching.
Okay,
Exactly.
Lav,
Yeah,
clarify.
when
No,
Lav
no,
talks, you're
go.
just watching,
20
and when I
seconds.
talk, you're fucking
No,
moderating.
that's not
What
true.
is
I've
that?
led both. You are
It is.
both interrupting like
You
crazy.
told me to shut up also.
Yeah, go. Okay, Lav,
should
go.
talk
Get your
now.
go. Lav, 20 seconds. Go.
Oh my god.
What I was saying when I entered the call basically was like, I noticed that you do this thing where maybe it feels like you are training your partner so that they can take care of you. And I feel like oftentimes I do that. I see myself in that. I oftentimes try to, bait my
Yeah.
partner into doing things so that they have to take care of me. Or so
Yeah.
they can be a person who can take care of me. Obviously, that's not something I'm like, hell yeah, I want to do this forever. It was just something I've noticed in myself, and I noticed that you probably do as well. And I was just telling you that, or asking you if maybe that was something that you resonated with. And then you were like, this bitch is fucking devil spawn.
Well, it wasn't just that. So that's the other thing I want to say to you, Stephen, is that you asked me, I think you both have kind of asked me, why do I think Lav is abusive? But every time I list one thing, you both jump down my throat and start talking nonstop until the subject has changed. It's like neither of you want me to actually articulate why I think she's abusive or how I reached that conclusion.
Yeah, the reason why.
So I can walk you through it probably in under 30 seconds. Why
You've
I think
already
she's abusive.
okay. So hold on. I don't care. Like.
But you keep pinpointing.
Wait,
you keep jumping on each.
Let me just think. Okay, listen.
You keep jumping on each individual thing and saying, "Well, that alone." We already did the cat and the tail analogy.
Here's what I'm trying to do.
I hope I don't have to repeat the cat and the tail analogy. But you just did the same fucking thing again, so maybe I do have to repeat it because I said she started out the conversation by saying she trains her spouse or fiance the way I train Shaylin, and then you're like, "Oh, well, yeah," but you can interpret that a million ways. But I'm saying that is one of like 10,000 data points that I've received, and they all spell out abuser.
Gotcha.
In
Okay.
big
So
fucking letters.
so from my perspective, okay, you do not. I know that you don't know enough about this other person to know if they're an abuser or not. Based on that conversation, I know for a fact.
No,
you
I
don't.
do.
So when I'm asking
for a
you,
fact that I do.
What I know you don't. So when I'm asking you why you think they're an abuser, I'm just trying to figure out like how you're reading the situation. I don't actually care about your rationale because I know that you can't possibly have that much information from a 1 hour call from somebody that's nervous calling in a program. There's no possible way that you can ascertain
100%.
the absolute.
No, he's God.
100%.
No,
I'm
no,
100.
Steven, you
I'm
don't
100.
understand
It's not
he's
because I'm
God.
God. It's because you're fucking saying you do abusive shit, and from interacting with you, I can feel.
They haven't given you. But by your own
feel
admission,
it.
they haven't given you anything that is 100%. That's an abuser.
Yes,
thing.
it is. Well, then maybe we have different definitions of abuse.
Okay, wait.
but
Then fine. Then let's go through it. Go ahead. Give me like the 100%, the big ones. Lead with your big guns. What are the? Oh, she said that. I know she's an abuser. Go.
Saying that she. It's actually most of it is how she is interacting with me. So doing things like, bringing up my mother. Then bringing up my mother again, but saying that she's not bringing up my mother and that she's doing it as an apology. If you don't hear a like weird, sadistic, underhanded, obviously trying to provoke me again, like, "Oh, I'm so sorry. I know that it hurt you." She's
Okay, what else? Don't give me analogies or don't waste time. What else?
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. The framing of I get to decide. This is a big one. I decide whether I'm an abuser. And so she's not going to say that's what she's doing, but if you follow every train of thought, it always comes down to my intent. I think this, and I asked this person, I asked this person. They said that. You can never proclaim yourself to not be an abuser. You can never for sure know that you're not an abuser because your abuse is always going to be in your blind spot. Anybody who says I 100% know I'm not an abuser because I don't think of myself one.
I didn't say
is
that.
going to be an abuser. You also clearly wear the pants in your relationship, and you clearly want it that way. Okay, I think you clearly do. I also think that you're
You
in
think
the. I think,
Okay, wait. Okay, stop.
Yes.
What else, Mr. Girl? What else? What other things?
Again, this is another like.
I just want you to know that. I just
it-
want you to know that if I need to
it
walk
is-
100 steps to clarify that she's an abuser, so far you've gotten me 0 steps of the way there with what you've given me so far. So what else do you have?
Telling me, she told me to set a boundary that my girlfriend can't cry in her own office.
Nope.
When I asked her for, and now she's saying that she didn't do that, so we know she's
Because
a
I
liar
didn't.
too.
Okay, so this is how.
You literally
okay.
wait. Let me finish. When I pressed her on what that
It was about
means,
you,
how
not Jalen. It was about you. It was you.
Lav,
Wait,
not
let
Jalen.
Mr. Girl finish. Go ahead.
the
Let Max
more
finish.
okay, this is another point of data that she can't listen to somebody articulate why they think she's abusive without derailing the fucking conversation every 5 seconds.
You do the same thing with me. Are you abusing me in this conversation?
No,
Interesting.
Chad. Okay, just
I'm not. I'm not doing the same thing as you.
Well, but wait, if you were
When
an
I
abuser,
asked
you wouldn't
you-
know,
I
though,
asked
right?
you- I
to
said-
be clear,
I
wait,
spent
hold on.
know if
I
you
need you
were
to admit
abusing-
that, Max. If you were an abuser, you wouldn't know, though, right?
If I was an abuser, I wouldn't know.
Okay,
That's
so
correct.
so you can't really say that
you are
because
abusing
you would
me.
never say I 100% know I'm not being abusive because
No,
according
I'm
to
just
Max,
saying if
that
you want to
would
list
be-
the reasons you think I'm abusive, I can sit and listen to them.
Okay, that's fine. I'm just saying, be
Sure.
careful not to walk
Okay.
into your own.
Yeah, you.
Yeah,
gaslit
I
me.
get what you're saying.
Okay, go next part.
Okay. When this took about 20 minutes, which also is a bad sign in itself, but I spent about 20 minutes saying, let's role play what you mean by setting a boundary with Shaylin about her crying, because I don't get what you mean. And when we role played, what she came up with was, if you cry in your office and
No.
I think it's because you're trying to get my attention, I may need to withdraw from you emotionally or physically.
No.
That is literally, I think, word
That's close
for
enough.
word
Yeah,
what
that's
you
good.
said.
That's close enough. Go ahead. Okay, keep going. What else?
Okay. When I say things that she said word for word, she said,
Just keep going. Just go to
"No."
the next thing. Go to the don't.
No, that is that. I'm saying that literally is a thing.
Oh.
I'm saying she's being abusive in the conversation right now, and you don't see it. You just give her a fucking pass for everything she says.
I'm not-
Everything she says is changing the subject, obfuscating, makes no fucking sense at all, is underhanded, sneaky. Oh my god.
Okay.
You know what you need to do? You need to get a voice filter so that changes her voice into Booksmart's voice. And then I need you to listen back to the same conversation. You would be moderating the fuck out of everything she says, but because she's a woman, for some reason, you just let her fucking get away with all of this shit. It's insane. It
I
is
think-
the cover you provide for her is insane.
Okay,
to me.
can I give some explanations and then you can just tell me if these are fucking wild off the wall? You tell me if it's possible.
Wait.
Yeah, okay.
Let me scan my brain real quick and make
Okay.
sure that was all the big guns, because you asked for the big guns.
Yep. Okay.
Telling her she can't cry in her own office. I think that was the one where I officially started calling you an abuser. I
Gotcha.
think.
Okay.
You
all
mean
right.
the thing that I didn't say?
No,
Yeah,
okay.
that makes
Hold on.
sense.
Don't worry. Okay, so the first part. you
Wait,
mentioned-
Steven, do you agree that she said that or not?
I think that it was meant in a way different way than you took it. It sounded to me like.
Do you think?
It sounded to
do you
me
think
like
the
when
way
she said it, it sounded like she was saying that the boundary is you can't go into your office to cry just to get attention from me. If that's like an intentional thing you're doing.
It wasn't even
great.
that. It wasn't even
No.
that.
However, I want to ask Steven how he interpreted it. You're saying you can't go into your office and cry just to get attention from me.
Yes.
Do you think that's a reasonable
Wasn't the-
boundary to set?
Absolutely
Do you think
reasonable. That is one of the most
Okay,
reasonable
great.
things I've ever
Let's
heard
role
of.
play. Let's role play. Let's
Okay,
role
sure.
play. I'll be Shaylin.
Dude,
and
Yeah,
you be
let's
me.
do it.
No,
Yeah, let's do it.
Steven,
No,
don't do
shut
it.
the fuck up. I'm a big boy. Okay. Okay. Let's role play.
Okay.
Go ahead. Yeah.
Okay. So I've come out of my office after sobbing loudly, or I'm in my office sobbing loudly. What do you do?
I'm gonna say, hey, listen. If I feel like
Wait. How are you saying that? I'm in my office.
just like I'm saying. Wait, what do you mean? You just said you came out.
You're
Did
gonna
you
say
not
it through
you
the
came
door?
out?
What are you gonna do?
Oh,
You're in the living
I thought
room.
you said
and I'm
I
in
thought
my-
you just said I came out.
No,
from
no.
my
Let's
office and I'm
start. Start with me in the office.
crying. Oh, you're in the
Honestly,
office and you're crying.
Yeah.
Do I have any really loud Bluetooth speakers?
Yes.
Okay, I'm gonna play some music and I'm gonna see if you cry louder. So I'm
Okay.
gonna turn my music up. Do you cry louder or does it stay at the same volume?
Let's say it stays the same.
Okay, I'll play some music until you're done crying.
Okay. Is that it?
Yeah.
Okay. What if I cry louder?
If you cry louder, turning my speaker off and I'm leaving the house. And I'll be back in a few hours. But you're probably going to text me like 2 seconds after I leave, and then we'll probably have a talk. But I'll leave the house. We'll say that. I'm going to turn my speaker off and I'll leave the house.
Okay. So, I think that this is a pretty reasonable response,
Okay.
because you're not really setting a boundary that I can't cry in my office to get your attention. You're
could
just
take it
saying
that way.
I could take it that way, but I think I would interpret what you just did in that story as you're saying, I'm just not going to listen to it.
No.
You can cry all you want in your
It's
office.
a
but I don't
stronger
have to hear
statement.
it.
I'm not going to appease this sort of attention-seeking behavior. that you're trying to get some amount of warmth or compassion from me in a time when you're upset with me, and that's not the dynamic that I can handle. So I would leave in that circumstance, and I would say that if there's a time when you're upset, sure, that's fine, but that's a boundary saying that like I'm not going to handle you having an emotional outburst while also trying to get warmth or comfort from me at the same time. That's not a boundary I'm willing to accept.
But yes, that's totally. I think that's totally fine.
Okay.
I said that.
Well, I don't know if it's totally fine, but it's not abusive.
Okay.
No, that's different from what you said.
Go
You
watch
said-
the video again. I said that verbatim.
You said that I should set a boundary around her not being allowed to cry in her office.
No, you made that up out of fucking thin air.
Okay, do you remember when we did the role play?
Yes, and I just said exactly what Steven said to you, but because it's coming out of a man's mouth, it's different.
No.
Makes sense.
In
Makes
our
sense.
role play, we had a whole conversation. In my role play with Steven, we didn't even talk about it. He just did it.
Oh my god.
You do not see the difference between those two?
I guess I don't. No.
In one, if I'm crying in my office and there's music playing and Steven leaves the house, I might not even know that happened. All I know is he's...
Oh, you're going to know what happens because I'm going to turn the speaker off and I might even slam the door.
Okay.
You'll know
fine.
I've left.
I don't think that's abuse. I think
That's abuse.
no,
that's abuse.
I don't think it's
That's
abusive.
a weapon. You just said that was abusive 20 fucking minutes ago when you are weaponizing space. So you need to stick to your fucking framework, even though
We
this
didn't
is your
talk about
boyfriend
leaving the
talking.
house. Wait, we didn't talk about leaving the house 20 minutes ago.
Are you fucking kidding me?
We talked about
Max,
again.
you
I
are
just made
living
this
in a
distinction.
different conversation than me and Steven are.
I'm in my
Like,
own. Don't group me in with you. I'm in my own
I-
conversation, watching all of you.
I want you to think about these two different scenarios. One is you are crying in your office and you come out and I'm not home. And then I come home a couple hours later.
And that
I
could
think
also
I
be
do
sad.
what?
I think
Yeah, I don't think
I'd
that's
be sad
I don't think
if
that's
that was Andy's
yeah,
dad.
absolutely. Yeah, I don't think that's abusive. What I do think is abusive is me saying, "Hey, I heard you crying and I think you're crying because you want my attention." And then you say, and we did this in the role playing, you say
And
that's
that really
not why I'm
triggers
crying.
me.
I want you to listen to what I'm saying cuz you're doing it again. You're lying. In our conversation when we were role playing, I was Shaylin and I said, "No, I wasn't crying to get your attention." And then you said, "Well, I think that you were, and if you keep doing that, I'm going to have to withdraw from you emotionally or physically for some period of time to regulate myself."
I think that the difference is that I'm a little bit older, so I know to test rather than ask for it. So, for instance, it sounds like if I was a younger man, I might not say, "Are you crying to get my attention?" But as an older person, I wouldn't do that. I'd turn the music up and see if they got louder, and then if they did, I'd shut it off and leave.
Well, yeah, I think the testing is kind of weird. I just don't think it's abusive. What I think is abusive is sending
Is
the
when I'm
person
doing
them is when you are telling the person. I think it's psychologically invasive to tell the person, "I am listening to you crying and I am auditing why you're crying. And even if you don't agree with my version of why you're crying, when I think you're crying for this reason, I am going to withdraw from you."
I'm
emotionally."
communicating,
No,
but
that's not what I
I'm
was-
Hold on, Lav. Stop being disagreeing just because of what he's saying, because that is what you're saying. Okay.
No,
but
it's
I
not.
would be. It is. I would communicate the exact same thing
Wait,
with my
no,
actions.
no, let her
No,
contradict
she's
herself.
worried that she's
Let her
getting
lie.
trapped. Oh my god. Okay.
You're fixing it, but this is what I'm saying is you keep digging her out of all
I'm
of
not
the
digging
behaviors
her
that I'm
out,
saying
it's
are
just you
abu-
phrase
Yes,
things
you
so
are.
aggressively
You're
that
saying you keep saying like, "Well, here's what I think she would say if she were a little older." What you really mean is, here's what she would say if she weren't completely full of shit and
No,
contradicting herself.
it's not that she's full of shit. It's that you're phrasing it in the most aggressive way possible, so it sounds really
Let
bad. And
her phrase-
okay,
then let
fine,
her
go.
speak for
All right.
herself.
Good
Let her
luck,
speak for
Lav. You're gonna
herself.
swim, sink or swim. Good or die. Good luck. Think carefully about what you're saying, and don't be so afraid of owning things that sound bad. Because in relationship conflicts, there are going to be
I'm not
times when there's no
afraid-
easy.
no, I'm
Okay,
not
all right,
afraid
go
of
for
owning
it. Then
something
go.
that sounds bad.
Okay, go.
It's not about that she can't cry. It's just that you need to acknowledge. It's not even about Shaylin. It's that you need to acknowledge the response in yourself and see if it would be emotionally beneficial to keep yourself in that situation or not. Not even like take abuse away. You need to look about whether or not it would be emotionally beneficial for you mostly, but also for Shaylin, to continue going.
Okay, that's not what I'm talking about. That the thing that I think that you said that makes you abusive is lording the power of definition over your partner and saying you have to agree that that you're doing this thing that I think you're doing, and if you don't agree with it and if you don't agree to stop it, I'm going to withdraw from you emotionally.
Okay, can I ask
When you
in my
say
wait, wait,
that-
can I ask in my situation, how am I not doing exactly that? I'm just conveying it with my actions.
If
The
you're
story you
telling
told-
Wait,
someone,
let Max hold on. Let Max respond. Go.
The way you told the story just makes it sound like you're not saying you have to agree with me about why you're doing this. You're just saying I don't want to be in the house if you're doing this.
No.
Or
Wait,
I don't
stop.
wanna-
Let me just do this. Okay, hold on.
I'm sorry,
Okay.
I'm
It's
I
sorry.
understand
okay.
with the
No,
testing.
shut the fuck up. No. When
okay.
I leave the house because my partner is
Yeah.
crying, Max, okay? Unless
Yeah.
you have terminal autism and you can't understand this, okay? I am telling you that for whatever fucking reason you're crying, I don't give a fuck because I think it's either illegitimate or it's manipulative. You must
Yes,
understand.
that
Yes.
is why it's not abusive. That is the difference. Because you are not telling your partner that they have to agree with your narrative of what's happening. You're just saying, I don't want to deal with this, so I'm out. Whatever the reason is.
no.
You literally just said, I
No,
don't
you're-
give a fuck why you're doing this.
No,
Do you see how that is different?
No, you're
wait,
wrong.
Wait,
No,
wait.
can I have
Let me
to fin- you're not- you're
let me
just- you're-
respond.
No, because if
Bro. Steven.
I am communicating that for whatever reason they're crying, I don't think that reason is legitimate. Okay,
That phrase, for whatever reason, is what makes it different.
No, you're getting hung up on the wrong part of the phrase because
I'm the one saying why I think it's
No,
abusive.
hold
That
on.
makes it not abusive, and I would like to explain why.
Okay, you can explain right after I say my piece, okay? If my partner got a call that their dad had just gotten killed in an accident, and then they went in their room and then they were crying, and I did the same set of behaviors, I blasted my music, and then I slammed the door and I left, that would be fucked up. But it's because I'm not leaving.
It would be fucked up.
Yes, but so what is happening? But I obviously wouldn't do that, and my partner probably knows I wouldn't do that. But if they were screaming just to get my attention, I probably would just leave. So by leaving, I am making a declaration that the particular reason why you are crying and screaming right now is not legitimate to me, and I'm not going to humor it. Whether I say that in a conversation, I go, knock, knock, hey, letting you know if you're gonna cry like this, like, I'm not cool with that, right? Whether I knock and tell them or whether I walk the fuck out of the apartment, I'm communicating the exact same thing with either my actions or my words. Okay, go ahead.
Okay. My problem is not with what you're communicating.
Okay.
I think it is totally fine to tell your partner that I think you're trying to get my attention. I don't like it. I don't want to deal with it. Whatever. I wish you wouldn't do that.
Okay.
I
feel like you haven't said that before, but maybe I missed it. But okay, go ahead.
Okay. My problem with what she's doing is that she is using emotional withdrawal as a coercive tool to overwrite her partner's narrative of who he is and what he thinks and why he does what he does with her own narrative. And that is what I think is abusive. It's not that she's not available for him when he's crying. It's not that she leaves the house. It's not.
How am I not doing? How would I not be doing the exact same thing by me leaving when they're screaming? I'm using my.
I will explain it. I will explain it. I will explain it. I will explain it.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, so if I am your partner and I believe that I'm crying for legitimate reasons, I'm just really sad and I get loud when I'm sad, and I hear music play and then I hear a door slam, I'm going to experience you as an asshole. I'll just say, you're an asshole who can't handle that I'm sad. Or maybe if I'm feeling more charitable, I'll say, you are freaked out by emotions and you couldn't be there for me. I wish you could, but you know what? You're not. Maybe you're like neglectful or something. And I might not like that. That might upset me, blah, blah, blah. That's different from you coming to the office or waiting for me to come out and saying, Max, here is my narrative of why you did this. Do you agree with it? And then when I say, no, I don't agree with it, and you're like, well, do you agree to stop doing it? And I say, no, I don't agree to stop doing it. I don't want to negotiate with you about why I cry in my office. And it feels invasive to me that you're trying to get me to define why I cry in my office. And I don't really want to argue with you about why I'm crying in my office. It's my fucking office. I get to cry. If you don't like it, then fine, play music or leave. And then you say, well, okay.
Okay, wait, what if I just ask you?
No, let me finish. Let me just finish. You say, I find it very triggering
I hate
that
it
you do
takes
this
so long to
because
get
I
through
think you're
these.
trying
Oh,
to get
God.
my attention. And I say, well, I don't think I am trying to get your attention. And you say, well, if you do this, the times when I do think you're trying to get my attention, I'm going to have to withdraw from you emotionally and or physically in order to caretake myself. I think at that moment, you are now saying that you are claiming the power of definition. And if I don't want to give you the power of definition over my behavior, not just your interpretation of it, it's not just your, I think you're lying, it's not that, it's beyond that, it's the new truth in our relationship must be that you are lying. And if you don't agree with it, I am going to withdraw from you every time until you do. That's completely different from sending me a message.
You're saying that it's completely different, but you are nailing down on this conversation in a way that I don't think any normal human being would think it's any different at all. They would view the second.
Yeah, people get away with this shit.
No, it's not about people getting away with it. No, hold on. Your interpretation is
multiple women get away with this shit.
Your interpretation is just wrong. Okay, the second they hear that, the second they hear that door close, there is an incongruence between what both people think is actually happening. The person leaving is saying...
but allowing that incongruence to exist is what makes it not abusive.
Unless even if you have the conversation, you say, I think you're lying, you're still allowing an incongruence to exist, unless you're literally torturing them to death until they agree with you.
Do you see that even in this conversation, Lav cannot tolerate somebody else having a different view of her from her own, and that she will stop at nothing to try to make you say that your view of her lines up with her own?
I don't think
I'm saying that if you do that I'm saying that if you do that to your fiance, it's abusive.
But the same thing can be done by leaving every time. How is that not a form? It could be.
You could phrase that as
okay. No, you're wrong.
There's no amount of times that you can leave the house and slam the door. I don't think
it can be the exact same type of, to use your words, Pavlovian conditioning. It is literally the definition of a what would it be, a negative punishment? You're removing a stimulus to try to punish somebody. It's literally the exact same thing.
Do you see the difference? Or you don't see the difference, but I want you to see the difference between, yes, if I don't like that you leave, maybe it will condition me to cry less. But that's not the same as conditioning me to believe your narrative about why I'm crying, to make me doubt my own emotional...
No, it's the exact same thing.
Stop. It's not the same. You can't think it's the same.
Yeah, I know it is. I know it is, 100%. I don't know if maybe you have a very literal...
Okay, let me finish. Okay. You have this blind spot for these women.
No.
I want to make you see,
now I'm going to finish.
I need you to see.
I think you have a really hard time interpreting how other people's actions convey a ton of subtext. If I leave and they are in that state of mind and we haven't had in their mind, all that you are doing is conveying that message. I don't believe you. I don't believe you. I don't believe you're really sad. I don't believe you're sad. You're doing the same thing, but you seem to think in your mind, well, as long as you don't have the explicit conversation, you're not really conveying that. That's what you're saying.
That's not what I'm saying.
Okay.
I want you to let me explain this because you're missing something.
Explain it again. Yes.
Every time you leave, you send me the message that you don't believe why I'm crying.
Yes.
Right? It is possible that will make me reflect on myself and say, well, maybe he's right. Maybe I am crying to get his attention, but it is also possible that will just leave me thinking, wow, Steven's an asshole who can't handle when I cry. Do you agree that those are both possibilities?
No.
You think that no matter what, I'm going to end up agreeing with your narrative of why I'm crying if you leave the house every time?
Unless you are already in an incredibly abusive relationship where your partner's reaction to you crying is to run the fuck away, then no. It is possible that you could I don't
think it's incredibly abusive. I think lots of people can't handle crying and they freak out.
Then I would call those people abusers, and they don't deserve to be in a relationship. If you can't handle your partner having
that's fine, but that's not relevant. That's not relevant to my question. No, you're changing the subject. You're changing the subject.
Go for it. Okay.
The question, Stephen, is: do you think it's possible that if you leave the house every time I cry, that I will just end up thinking you're an asshole? Not that I'm crying.
It's possible.
You're saying it's not possible. You're saying 100%. No matter what, if you leave the house when I cry, that is going to change my own narrative of why I'm crying.
That if you leave the house when... No, I think there are two... No, it doesn't have to change the narrative, but it's going to challenge
well, you just answered this question. Yes, it challenges.
It's possible, Max. There's a 1% possibility. There's a possibility that an asteroid will fall on your fucking house.
Do you think it's a... don't say that. Do you think it's a decent possibility that it is not actually going to change my narrative of myself? It might just change my narrative of you. Do you think it's... Dude, can you answer this question?
It's such
yes or no? Yes or no, motherfucker?
I don't know if it'll change it, but it'll be challenged.
Do you think it's possible that it won't change it?
Is it possible that it won't change it? Sure. Yeah, it's possible that it won't change
it. Okay, great. Do you also agree that your goal in leaving the house is not to change my narrative of myself, but there's a couple other goals. One is, yes, to challenge it. sure, to make it clear what your narrative of me is, and that is the challenge. So you're communicating to me, you think I'm full of shit, and that I am crying, I'm fake crying to get your attention, and that I should handle this another way. That's the challenge. And also to just get out of the situation because you don't want to be subjected to it. Do we agree those are the primary reasons for you leaving? Okay. My view of Lav is not that. My view is that the primary reason for her to have that conversation with me in which she tells me my narrative, or her narrative of me and what I'm doing, and then says, do you agree with this narrative? And then if I say no, says, well, I'm going to have to withdraw from you unless you say yes. The primary goal in that conversation, while there is some overlap and possible
hold on,
effect,
you have to explain this. No, you got to explain this. You got to explain this because I don't know what the fuck kind of. So you're saying that because in my mind, there's two things that can happen. Either one, the person just leaves because they're pissed off, or two, the person knocks on the door and is like, hey, I think you're crying for attention. Can you please fuck off? But in Max's world, you're saying what that conversation is actually is they open the door and they're like, I need you to understand that you're crying just for attention. And you're not.
We role played it. We role played it, and that is what she said.
Let's role play that. I'm going to do that. No, let's role play that. No, fuck her. I'm going to role play that one where I have the conversation then, okay? I won't leave. I'm going to knock on the door and talk, okay? Let's go. Okay?
No, but you're going to do it in a way that is not abusive.
No, I'm not. I'm going to do it in exactly the way that I fucking would. The only way we'll do it. I want to see the difference. Maybe by role playing,
Wait,
I'll learn.
Can I say one thing before
No,
we
I don't.
this?
I want to role play.
No.
Cry.
I need to make a distinction.
If you can do it in less than 5 seconds, yes.
One is a Pavlovian brainwashing into. Wow, you couldn't even wait 5 seconds.
Okay,
I
one
have
is
been
one
quiet for
one is.
20 minutes.
I know. So what's another 5 seconds? One is a Pavlovian training me to not cry, not fake cry. The other is Pavlovian training me to agree with your narrative about myself. The second one, I believe, is abusive.
Okay, I think that second one can happen in a conversation or with you just leaving the house.
It can happen, but it is not the intention.
That you have placed on me.
I thought you said intentions didn't even matter.
I'm not saying I'm not saying the intention, the psychological, conscious intention of the abuser. I'm saying the act is designed to brainwash you, whether you think you're brainwashing the person or not.
Okay, let's do that. Let's
you're
do the
not
role
leaving
play.
the house.
Let's do the role play.
Slamming the door and leaving doesn't
let's do the role play where I have the conversation.
It might brainwash me into not crying.
You're crying.
It doesn't brainwash me
Let's
into
say-
agreeing with
okay.
your narrative about me.
Let's say that you're crying. Okay, you're crying, and I turn on my Bluetooth speaker, and then you cry louder. Okay, can we be at that part?
Okay. Sure.
Okay, I'm turning off my Bluetooth speaker. I'm gonna come over, and I'm knocking at the door. Hey,
Hello.
I need you to not cry like this. Okay, if you're just crying to piss me off or to get my attention, I can't handle that. I can't deal with that.
Fuck off. I'm crying. It's my office. I can cry whenever I want.
Okay, but I can hear you crying. So one of us has to leave if you're going to do this. However long it's going to take you to cry, either you can leave or I can leave, but I can't be around you when you're acting like this. I don't think you're crying.
Acting like what? I'm not acting like anything. I'm crying because I'm upset because of what you said to me about the chicken nuggets.
Sure, and I understand. And if you want to talk to somebody else about that, you can go and talk to somebody else. But I'm not going to be here, so you need to make a decision. Either I'm leaving or you're leaving. If you don't want to make a decision, then I'll leave.
Okay, I would like to point out an important thing you just did that is non-abusive.
Oh, okay. Tell me.
I said, I'm not crying to get your attention. I'm crying because I'm upset. And you said, sure. When you said sure, you then are making a distinction between my narrative of myself and your narrative of yourself.
Okay, can I just explain?
Wait, let me finish. Let me finish, and then you.
God, I'm just gonna.
You're
so
let me
when
finish.
I'm talking
to
you and I say okay, you view that as me being dismissive and just trying to be avoidant.
It is dismissive, but it's not brainwashing.
No. I'm telling you that if I was talking to
dismissive.
an emotional woman and I said sure, she's gonna view me as being dismissive. She's not gonna say, oh, he said sure. He's agreeing with my narrative of myself, but he has a difference of opinion.
The abuse victim does not determine if they're being abused. It doesn't matter if the woman thinks that you're not being abusive, you still might be.
So
Women
who's to
cannot
say?
like what you're doing. That doesn't make you an abuser, Steven. Yes, they can think you're being unavailable. They can think that you're being cold. They can think you're being dismissive. That's not the same as what I'm talking about, though. You're changing the subject. When you say sure, in our conversations and in a conversation in the hypothetical, you are saying, okay, you think your thing, I think my thing. They're not the same, so what the fuck are we going to do about it? You literally articulated that's what that means when you say okay like that. That is the opposite of what Lav does and how she functions, is the opposite of what I'm saying is abusive about her behavior and about the hypothetical. She is not okay. Wait, shut the fuck up. She is not okay with her fiance thinking something different from her. That is the entire point.
You're fucking wrong.
So in that,
you operate off of violent misogyny, and you are putting that onto me, and it's disgusting.
I am using my violent misogyny for good. You should be fucking thanking me.
So, okay, can I ask you one question?
For what?
I want to finish what I'm saying. I want to finish this. I just want to finish. I just want to finish anything.
Okay,
can I just finish this one thing I'm saying?
a little time to talk. Go ahead.
Dude, 30-minute monologue. Go.
Okay. I'll try to keep it to 25. When you say sure, you are saying, yes, I challenge your narrative about yourself, but it's okay that your narrative of yourself is different from mine. If instead you say, no, I need you to agree with this. I need you to understand this is why you're doing this. And if you don't agree with it, I'm going to withdraw from you. You are no longer conditioning about the behavior. You're conditioning me to agree with your narrative of me, and that is abusive.
I think you're in a psychotic episode right now.
I don't think he's in a psychotic episode right now.
Dude, this is insane. The fact that he has put on, that he has drawn this of me in the not even the hours that we've spoken, in the 15 minutes that he's let me speak.
Well, I think
he has drawn this on me. That is
it's a subtle way to be psychologically
nobody
abusive.
Picks it up except for you, right?
That's not true.
Max,
go look at the comments on my stream, motherfucker.
Okay,
it ain't that subtle.
I'm gonna lower a bridge.
On your stream, your incel army.
Okay.
All the other misogynists who read your shit and they're like, yes, I also hate my
there's
mother.
There's ladies in there. There's ladies in there.
Okay, Max, I'm drawing.
Wait, you agreed with me. Lav, you said I was right about you. Okay, but you yes, you're one of my incel fans who thinks that you're an abuser.
I'm gonna extend.
Not an incel fan. I watched a couple videos of you in a fucking night, and I was like,
do you think I'm right about you?
Honestly,
yes.
I think that.
Honestly.
Okay, so I think that at first it was hard for me. I listen to me. I self-abandoned. Dude, shut the fuck up.
I just want to know if you think I'm right.
And I'm gonna fucking get there, but before I get there, you're gonna fucking let me talk. For fuck's sake. I've listened to you, your psychobabble, for 30 fucking minutes. Anyway, I have a tendency to self-abandon a lot, especially when I'm in the presence of someone who reminds me of my mother, who shows narcissistic traits, which I don't know if you know this, but you do. I'm sure you've heard it a lot. So you world build around me. This is what you do. You psychoanalyze and you world build around me. And then I'm like, okay, fuck. And I'm the sort of person, I have to internalize everything everyone's saying to me because I'm so fearful that I am the person who I fear that I'm the worst person. I fear that I am my shadow self, that I cannot get away from it. So, of course, to some degree, I believe what you're saying, but I don't necessarily think that that's the healthy part of my brain. That's the part that is self-abandoning and is like, yes, maybe I agree with you. Am I that person now? Do I abuse my fiance? I do not think so. I'll grant you the fact that I don't know 100%, right? Because no one does know. But actively, I try to not abuse. And the reason why I found your content so riveting is because I think that you are doing the same thing. And that's why I was leveling with you. And you took it into this crazy you let your violent misogyny and your relationships with women dictate the way that you felt about me, a woman, a voiceless, a nameless, bodiless woman who called in to speak to you. It was so ridiculous. I was trying to be charitable to you because I believe that you are good. I don't believe that you're, this narcissist who has no self-awareness. I know that you have some self-awareness. You're a smart guy. But I also fear that I'm being too charitable to you constantly. I also want to have a bigger conversation about why you fucking hate me. Why you think you can, based on your framework of violent misogyny, say to me that I am the way that I am when you don't fucking know me. And I want to know how that's different than what you think Dr. K does.
You want to know how I think I'm
was a
different from
journey.
Dr. K, or how I think
I want
you're
you
different
to. I
from
want you
Dr.
to
K?
engage with all of that.
Okay.
I want you to
Also,
engage
as
with all
Max
of it point by
answers,
point.
I just want everybody to know I have to leave in 5 minutes. I'm already an hour late. My wife that I'm abusing right now is going to divorce me if I miss a dinner that I scheduled for an hour ago. So keep that in mind as you. But go ahead. Wait. Also, are you streaming, Max?
No.
Dumb fuck. You should have been. Well, okay. Sorry. Okay. Go ahead. Keep going.
He doesn't want to platform me.
Well, I mean, I could have platformed him. But go ahead. Talk. Say your piece. Respond to her. Dr. M.
Wow. Oh wait, you're gonna raid me?
Well, I can if you're live, but you need to respond to her.
Well, I can start streaming right now.
Well, you better start and respond to her while you're doing it. Go.
Start streaming. Wait. Hey, just set up a broadcast. Okay. I'll do both at the same time. What's the short answer? Do you think I'm right about you or not?
I just fucking answered your question.
The answer was probably I'm wrong.
The answer is that I am scared that you are right, and I might think so, but I ultimately think that you are wrong.
I think if you can't admit how similar you are to your mother, you're going to turn into her. And I think the same is true of me, too.
Oh, did you just trigger the fuck out of me? You know what you just did. You are abusing me.
How so? Wait, how's that different from what you said to me about my mother?
I thought that that was abusive. And you said that it was also abusive. So you just asked me how it was different when you just fucking did the same thing to me. So you know it was abusive. And now you're feigning that you don't know what you're doing, which is equally as fucking manipulative.
Wait, why do you think I said that to you?
I think that you said it the same way that I said it, because you actually are trying to engage with me. And I think that you're right. I have a narcissistic wound. I've mirrored my mother for a lot of things. And that does really scare me, but I actively really, really, really try to not become my mother. And I feel like if I notice it as I'm doing it, it's possible that I probably won't, or hopefully
Yeah, but there's
won't.
a difference. There's a overlap where you can be self-deceiving and convincing yourself that you're not your mother.
I think it's hard. I don't give myself that
Like,
leeway.
what's the difference between
I don't give myself
trying
that
not to
opportunity
become
because
her
I
and-
accuracy test with everyone I know.
yeah? But
I
that's
accuracy
what I'm
test with
saying.
my
That's okay.
grandmother,
That's
with my
that's what I'm-
therapist, with our couples
that's what I'm-
therapist.
with your grandmother. Is that your mother's mother?
39.
Yeah.
19.
Oh, so you have an
This is so
alliance
dumb
with your
now.
grandmother
Yeah, well,
against your mother.
You guys are going to hop over
Not
to
against
Mr.
her, but we
G's
both
stream now.
acknowledge
Yes.
that she needs
it
help.
is against. No, it is against her.
It's not against her. It's
It is
it's
against her. It is against her. She made your mother. You realize that? I don't think
yeah.
that's. I don't think that's.
I think that
well,
I don't hate my mother.
I think you're giving
I just
her a bit of a
acknowledge.
pass there. Okay. My sense of you bringing up my mother was that you were kind of trying to fuck with me. Is that you don't share that sense?
Well,
yeah, we're still having a
No,
conversation,
I understand how you could, and I totally gather how, and that's why I apologize. Is because I think that I didn't knowingly do that, but it doesn't matter my intent, and that's why I apologize that I did do that. And you just did that to
great.
me.
Okay,
you just did that
great.
to me.
So let me just I guess this is the blind spot that I am worried about, is that you can't tolerate the idea that you're abusive. It's your worst nightmare. And when you define it as your worst nightmare, and then you also kind of define yourself as somebody who can't stand.
But I'm also pretty self-aware, and I
want you
also
to
don't
just let me
create a
finish.
space
Let
where
me
I can
finish.
be
Let me finish.
manipulative and abusive.
Let me finish. If it's your worst nightmare and you can't stand the idea of your worst nightmare coming true, that also means you create this blind spot where you will not be able to tolerate seeing it if it is.
I gotta get the
true.
fuck out of here.
And I know that about myself, and so I've deliberately put things in place so that I cannot do that.
Well, I think you're smart enough that you'll be able to do it anyway. So I don't think that you can ever give yourself. I don't think you can ever give yourself.
I've already told you I don't want to be that person.
And I will get in the hot tub with you. You and I can both never ever say with 100% certainty that we have not turned into our mothers.
Of course.
The moment you say that, you will.
And I never said that, Max. I said that I do fear that.
I just think you're trying to keep a iron grip on your own narrative of who you are, and
as you do as well, as everyone does.
Maybe. I'm not going to say I don't, but I'm saying that I can see you doing it in your relationship. So anyway, this is the whole thing. This is why I said you're abusive.
You can't see me doing it in my relationship.
I do. I
see
it.
You do not see my relationship. If you want to talk to my fucking fiance, you can. He does not feel that way. If you want to talk to my therapist, you can. No, you can't.
How do you think I would sound if I said, "Guys, I'm not abusive"? What if I said, "Guys, I'm not abusive. Talk to my therapist. Talk to Shaylin. Talk to my friend. Talk to my grandmother."
I mostly said that under the guise of like a funny. It felt funny to me. It felt like desperate, and I thought that was funny.
It might be funny, but earlier you literally said that.
I know it was out of desperation.
You said one of the reasons we shouldn't think you're abusive is that you asked your fiance and he said you're not.
Well, no, I didn't. It's not that I asked him. It's that I wanted him to watch what we were saying and to tell me if there was any truth in it, because we have a very transparent relationship.
Turning into your abusive mother is not the end of the world. You can still work on it.
No, of course.
Okay.
No kidding. That's why
listen, I love both of you, and I just want to say,
too.
wow, this has just been a super productive, really great job, guys. Okay, I'm gonna go eat dinner.
Okay, I'm live now. Are you actually rating me?
Yeah. I love you both, okay? Be careful. Stay safe. I believe in both of you, okay?
I want to know what Melina thinks about all this. I feel like we keep talking about these relationship stuff. I want to know what she thinks. Has she said anything about this?
I don't let her get exposed to people like you who would do bad things to her. I actually take her phone away every time I see her browsing any of your content. So.
Oh, don't do that. Don't do that.
He's joking, guys. He would never do that. Steven is not an abusive guy. He would never do that. It's a joke, folks. It's just a joke.
This is what I wanted to talk about.
You don't want to start a rumor.
This is what I wanted to talk about. This is literally what I came into our discussion wanting to talk about, was this feeling.
Okay, you guys can figure that out. And someday, you know what? Melina can hop into a convo with us, Max, and you can ask her all the questions you want, or we can all do it, or whatever the fuck you want, okay? Okay. Good luck, you two. I believe in you. Be careful, all right?